The next page is the cover of Nintendo Dream Volume 78, featuring Animal Forest Plus and Murajiman Festa Plus New Start. It highlights a release date of November 21, 2002, and includes features on Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Star Fox Adventures with an interview with Takaya Imamura, Ace Attorney 2, Biohazard Zero, Mario Party 4, Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, and 3 upcoming RPGs, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. This page showcases Disney's Mickey Mouse no Fushigi na Kagami for the Nintendo GameCube, which translates to Disney's Mickey Mouse's Mysterious Mirror. The ad promotes the game with phrases like, "There are many mysterious mysteries in the world of mirrors," and "Let's click here and there together with Mickey." It features a retail price of 6,800 yen before tax, supports one player with 2P support functionality, and is described as a click adventure. The ad explains how to play with on-screen cursor instructions, encouraging exploration and interaction within the game's environments. It was developed by Capcom and is a Disney Interactive title. The next page continues the coverage of Disney's Mickey Mouse Magical Quest for the Game Boy Advance. It introduces the Kids mode and 2P support, where the game explores itself if the player doesn't touch the controller, like a Disney animation. The 2P support allows player 2 to assist player 1. The page also highlights enjoyable minigames within a mansion setting, and the need to find mirror shards to return to the original world. It mentions ghost shooting and time attack snowboarding minigames. The page also mentions that you can connect a GBA cable, sold separately, to trigger something special in the mirror world with a link to the GameCube. The game had a suggested retail price of 4,800 yen, excluding tax, and supported 12 players using the communication cable, or GBA cable. This page is an advertisement for Best Play Pro Baseball on the Game Boy Advance. It features a girl in a baseball uniform, with a crowd of celebrating baseball players in the background. The ad highlights features such as updated 2002 data and the inclusion of the Sapporo Dome. Also mentioned is the ability to connect with other players using a GBA cable for multiplayer. The game was scheduled for release on October 25, 2002, and was priced at 5,800 yen, excluding tax. The next page features the contents of the Nintendo Dream Magazine, Volume 78, from November 21, 2002. The cover highlights an interview with Takaya Imamura from Nintendo EAD, known for his work on Star Fox. Inside, the magazine previews upcoming RPGs, including The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Other featured games include Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, and Mario Party 4. There's also coverage of Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Super Monkey Ball 2, and Spider-Man. The magazine also mentions Kinnikuman 2, Generations, Godzilla, Destroy All Monsters Melee, and Mega Man Battle Network 3. It also covers Star Fox Adventures and Momotaro Dentetsu 11. The magazine's index lists games for the GameCube and Game Boy Advance, including Ikaruga, Eternal Arcadia Legends, Biohazard Zero, Rune 2, Samurai Deeper Kyo, Tales of the World, Narakiri Dungeon 2, Monster Farm Advance 2, and Doraemon Quiz Boy 2. Regular features include the Nintendo Q in a Corner, Monthly Newspaper Turbo, Mario Core, Doriteku's Hall, Animal Crossing Plus, Pokemon Trancel Nursery, Sega Soul, GC New Software Catalog, Nindori Headline and Ranking, GC and GBA Software Release Schedule, and a Reader's Prize Giveaway. There are also columns like Nindori Gakuen, Game Software Fan Club, and Susume, Tenin Kazoku by Hyanon. This page is a full-page advertisement for the Nintendo GameCube game Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, marketed in Japan as Eternal Darkness. The tagline reads, "Illusion or Reality?" The text highlights the game's psychological adventure aspect, with 13 characters involved in a story of delusion and reality. The advert showcases in-game screenshots and the game's release date of October 25th, Friday, with a price of 6,800 yen. The next page showcases a reader's gifts section from Nintendo Dream, promising exciting presents for those who submit postcards. It highlights that the most frequent question is about the desired color of the game consoles, encouraging readers to specify their preference on the postcard. The application deadline is November 20th, 2002, with the winners announced in Nintendo Dream Volume 80, released on November 21st. Prizes include a Nintendo GameCube, a Game Boy Advance, a memory card 251, and a copy of Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland. There's also a signed Star Fox Adventures t-shirt and signed Star Fox Comics by Takaya Imamura and Sensei Nakaue. Other items featured are a Super Mario Sunshine flying cushion, an Eggmania figure with Miss Eggmania's signature, a Tales of the World, Narakiri Dungeon 2 Game Boy Advance game, and Beast Shooter, Aim for the Beast King, Game Boy Advance game. Lastly, a Bomberman Jetters, Legendary Bomberman Game Boy Advance game, a Nintendo GameCube carry bag, and a GameCube accessory set with disc and memory card cases are up for grabs. This page is a Nintendo Dream headline covering the release dates and event information for the coming month of October to November 2002. It mentions an event featuring Toshihiro Nagoshi discussing Zero ACGC at Yomiuri Hall in Yurakucho, Tokyo, from October 28th to 30th during the Tokyo International CG Film Festival. The article speculates on the possibility of new information regarding Zero GC and highlights the anticipation surrounding the release of major titles on November 21st. The page includes a monthly calendar that shows release dates and events. The calendar highlights include the release of Nintendo Dream Volume 78 on October 21st, the release of Pikmin on October 26th, and the release of Beast Shooter, Aim for the Beast King on October 31st. November 1st sees the release of From TV Animation One Piece Treasure Battle. Other key dates are November 6th, with Nintendo Dream Volume 79, and November 21st, with the release of Biohazard Zero, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, and Super Monkey Ball 2. Also on November 21st, there is a list of Nintendo's killer software, including the SFC version of Zero, Super Mario World, Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, and Super Donkey Kong 2. The Nintendo Hyper Ranking page lists top-selling and anticipated GameCube, GC, and Game Boy Advance, GBA, games. Top-selling GC titles include Star Fox Adventures, Super Mario Advance 3, and several others like Super Mario Sunshine and Dragon Ball Z. Top anticipated titles include The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, Pokémon Ruby/Sapphire, and Star Fox. A survey reveals that most respondents own 5 GC games, with an average of 4.2 titles per person. Super Smash Bros. DX and Super Mario Sunshine topped 500,000 in sales. The page also includes a screenshot of The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. The next page is a Nintendo Dream Monthly One-Half News Update. It highlights the latest news, including the start of a new GameCube and Game Boy Advance game release rush. It mentions the TV commercials for Kirby and Eternal Darkness, with images of the commercials, including shots of the Eternal Darkness commercial featuring the Fox sisters, and scenes from the Kirby commercial with people singing karaoke. The page also teases the next commercials, possibly for Mario Party 4 and Pokémon Ruby/Sapphire, with info suggesting the Pokémon commercial might use live-action footage. Additionally, it announces that the GameCube and its controller have won a Good Design Award, with comments from Nintendo on the design philosophy behind the console. This page starts with an update on Nintendo news, announcing the release of a new accessory for GameCube games called the Index Maker, which allows players to store their games in a binder. A 3-pack sells for 980 yen. Next is a segment called Nindori's Recommended Books, focusing on the book Bestseller Gameika Kaigi, Bestseller Gamification Conference, featuring discussions by Kazutoshi Ida, Kazuya Asano, and Kazunari Yonemitsu. The book explores how to turn best-selling books into games. Also featured is Packland de Tsukumaete, Catching in Packland, by Satoshi Tajiri, a collection of essays about the author's encounters with games, and his thoughts on creating Game Freak. The page continues with news that Nintendo has revised its financial forecast, lowering the GameCube's shipment target to 10 million units due to poor economic conditions in Japan and Germany, along with a lowered Game Boy Advance shipment target. There is also an advert for a Shin Megami Tensei Devil Children Light/Dark Book pre-order campaign, where customers can get a special original watch. The next page starts with merchandise news, announcing the release of Animal Crossing Plus plush toys from Saneboeki in mid-November. Each plush is priced at 1,200 yen and will be available at Ito-Yokado stores. The series will continue, with new animals being considered for future releases. Next up is an event section covering Hudson's Momotetsu 11 Japan Cup 2003, announcing the preliminary round dates. Contact information is provided for inquiries, aiming to determine the best Momotetsu player in Japan. A table lists the dates, regions, and venues for the preliminary rounds. The page continues with Kirby of the Stars, highlighting upcoming episodes. Episode 54, The Overzealous Knight, Kiharno, airs on October 26th and features a knight from space who battles Kirby and King Dedede. Episode 55, Dade's Affectionate Love, airs on November 2nd and involves a love-inducing monster affecting King Dade. The reviewer praises the action in episode 55. Lastly, it covers the FCGC event on October 30th, where famous guests will participate in a CG film festival. From Amusement Vision will give a presentation, and the FCGC topic is likely to come up. Tickets are available for 1,000 yen. The page highlights Mario Club recommended software, starting with Tales of the World, Narikiri Dungeon 2 for its diverse characters, costumes, and jobs. A Toys R Us Toy Festa event showcased Mario Party 4, playable with up to 4 controllers, alongside Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, Monkey Ball 2, and other GBA games. The event also featured a Super Smash Bros. DX National Tournament, a Bowser Club favorite choice. Section promotes Star X, a shooting game with polygonal graphics and extensive stages. Finally, a comic strip features Misuzu Link's News Dream. The next page features New FF and dives into the concept of communication RPG within the Final Fantasy series, specifically Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. The article explores what makes a Final Fantasy game, referencing familiar elements like chocobos, SIDS, airships, the importance of crystals, Yoshitaka Amano's art, strong graphics, and dramatic stories. It also mentions classic systems, like job systems, summon beasts, and black mages. Despite these recurring elements, each installment is a new adventure. The reviewer highlights the development team's adventurous approach, striving for innovation with each title and not being bound by the conventions of the past. They mention that Square is aiming for the highest quality RPG experience on the GameCube, emphasizing that Crystal Chronicles distinguishes itself with its 14-player cooperative gameplay, utilizing the GameCube and Game Boy Advance link cable functionality for each player to use a GBA as a controller, offering a unique shared adventure with friends and siblings. The page claims this is the first time a main F game has incorporated these features. The page includes screenshots of the upcoming game. There is a small table showing the release date as 2003 spring. This page details Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles Game Boy Advance connectivity, emphasizing its advantages for player interaction. The GBA allows players to see individual stats, fostering direct communication and a sense of shared adventure. The article also highlights the game's 16-year history. Key figures like Akihiko Kawazu, creator, and the Fund Q support initiative from Nintendo's former president, Yamauchi. The page introduces the game's Crystal and Chronicle elements and the collaborative effort between Square, game designers, studio, and Nintendo, anticipating a similar level of content quality to Super Mario RPG. This page thoroughly examines the screen photos and development materials of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. It contemplates the system, looking for hints in the screenshots and development notes. The page starts by spotlighting TVCM footage from the GameCube, which made a sensational debut. The game allows the player to confirm the movements of the characters and recognize the protagonist. The page continues by looking at the battle scenes of the game and asks, what is the battle system and if it's closer to real-time or RPG elements, highlighting that 4 characters and enemies are on screen with no parameters shown. The page questions if the battles are action or non-action focused, mentioning 4 player characters who can be confirmed, allowing you to control the actions of the character, which looks like an action RPG. It mentions the GBA connectivity might allow for command options. It also asks about the purpose of the crystal object displayed in the lower left of the screen. Finally, the page examines the image boards, drawing attention to the interesting things found in the seemingly insignificant scenery with the horses and the skeleton. A check reveals that the boy riding on the vehicle is mentioned, and what the character is doing is connected to the profession. It also mentions that many human figures are being drawn, and most of them are from non-human races, noting there is a huge crystal-like building and a ship piercing the ground. The next page showcases development materials for 8 characters in a Final Fantasy game, presumably Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles from the previous page. It asks whether these characters are selectable for players, guessing their abilities based on appearance. The page spotlights 4 specific characters, labeled with distinct traits. Standard human character, magical warrior with heavy equipment, born of nature, and a bird-like head and arms. There is also a section dedicated to Moogles, describing them as potential mascots of the Final Fantasy series, following in the footsteps of chocobos. It questions whether Moogles will serve as navigators in this game, showing various concept sketches and in-game appearances of the creatures. From the GBA game Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, it states here in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance that a Moogle said, "Here, take the place of Kubo." The bottom of the page includes user feedback, with fans expressing excitement for Square's games. One fan anticipates Square's games to be similar to Mario RPG, expressing the desire to see interesting characters. Another user states to create games for adults, similar to Square's usual tone. The next page is a full-page advertisement for The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. It includes a countdown to the release date, set for December 13th, with 53 days remaining. The game features a cel-shaded art style and focuses on Link exploring a vast ocean. The text talks about a new item called The Wind Waker. Players can win a Nintendo Book 2002 Autumn Edition, which contains a DVD featuring Zelda as well as other content. This page focuses on The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. It starts by highlighting the pleasant atmosphere of Outset Island, praising the refreshing breeze, and noting how wind effects are displayed graphically, such as Link's hair moving. The writer recalls playing the game at E3, focusing on the immersive wind. The article then mentions a new item obtained from Link's sister, Errol, the telescope. The telescope allows you to zoom in on distant landscapes, and it highlights the zoom feature and how it works with the Crystic controls. There are screenshots of Link using the telescope to zoom in and view locations. The writer then notices that the postman could be introduced in the game due to seeing a postbox. The next page continues focusing on The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker and the sailing aspect of the game. It mentions that sailing isn't just a mini-game, showing you can travel in the Great Sea using the boat. The writer quotes Miyamoto, who discusses sailing on the Great Sea, controlling the wind, and the exhilarating feeling of navigating the world. The article details how to sail, including adjusting the sail against the wind to move or stop. It mentions that you can operate the rudder and sail, and even move in a zigzag fashion. There is a description of a minigame, where you sail around an area, collect rupees, and return to the start. Hitting a barrel causes Link to fall into the sea, but he can swim back to the boat. The writer compares the sailing experience to Zero. A section called Check the Magnet suggests the direction of the magnet on the map changes, implying it might be used for navigation, and hints that you may drift in the Great Sea. And there are screenshots of various sailing moments, including stowing the sail and jumping over barrels to collect rupees. This page delves deeper into the cat-like eyes of Link in The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, highlighting how expressive they are compared to the Nintendo 64 version of Link. The movement of Link's eyes is a key to discovering hints within the adventure. The writer emphasizes that the eye movements aren't just for show. By paying attention to where Link is looking, you can discover important details. During normal gameplay, players often see Link from behind. When stuck, if the camera is focused on Link's face, his eye movements can reveal enemies or items nearby, potentially making the gameplay similar to Navi or Tattle's role from previous Zelda games. The magazine teases close-ups of Link's expressions and shows examples of in-game situations where Link's gaze indicates nearby items and enemies. There's also mention of changes to the item icons. The action buttons are B and R, with the sword on A, and there are adjustments made to the Z-trigger display, with the E3 version of the game acting as a Link visor. Finally, the text highlights the sneak action, allowing Link to crawl silently. The page concludes with a countdown for the next issue. The next page is a full-page advertisement for the upcoming Game Boy Advance titles, Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. Created by the Pokémon Company, and Nintendo. These RPGs support 14 players and the use of a dedicated communication cable. The advertisement prominently features Groudon in Ruby and Kyogre in Sapphire, highlighting their importance to the game's plot. It emphasizes that this is the most exciting chapter so far as these two Pokémon feature on the game boxes. The page also notes that the two legendary Pokémon, which dwell in the deepest depths of the world, are a key element to the story. The text includes an interview with Kondo Takanao, who is in charge of Pokémon promotion, about the new Ruby and Sapphire games. Kondo mentions that the games are quite different from previous Pokémon titles, and emphasize the need to focus on a new feeling for the game. He also mentions that the image colors of red for Ruby and blue for Sapphire represent the two key elements of the story, which is land and sea, and that these colors are also a throwback to the classic Pokémon games. He also explains that the design of Groudon and Kyogre is focused on the characters' imposing and ancient designs. This page delves into the differences between Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, focusing on the roles of Team Magma, Ruby, and Team Aqua, Sapphire. It explains that depending on the version, characters and dialogue change. Team Magma aims to expand land, while Team Aqua seeks to increase the sea, with both factions vying for control of Groudon and Kyogre respectively. The page showcases the team members' designs, likening Team Magma's outfits to moles, and Team Aqua's to traditional pirates. It also lists the heights and weights of Groudon, 3.5 meters, 950.0 kilograms, and Kyogre, 4.5 meters, 352.0 kilograms. Finally, it mentions Groudon's ability to evaporate rain with light, and Kyogre's ability to bring rain to save people. The next page highlights a new feature in the Pokémon games Ruby and Sapphire: secret bases. You can create these bases in small cave openings found during your adventure by teaching your Pokémon the move Secret Power to create a secret base. The bases can be customized with interior decorations, and you can connect with friends using the communication cable to visit each other's bases at the Pokémon Center's record corner, like the multiplayer feature in GoldenEye or Pokémon Stadium. Your friend's base will suddenly appear in your game. The page also answers a Q&A with Mr. Kondo, stating that you can't trade Pokémon with previous Game Boy Pokémon games due to hardware differences, but you can trade Pokémon between Ruby and Sapphire. This page dives into the multiplayer battles in Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire available at the Pokémon Center. The Pokémon Center now has 3 counters on the second floor: a Coliseum, a Trade Center, and a Record Corner. You can now engage in multi-battles with up to 4 players. It details the Coliseum, where you can enjoy single battles, 1v1, double battles, 2v2, and multi-battles, 2v2. Single battles are described as familiar, emphasizing move selection and type matchups. Double battles require strategic Pokémon combinations. Multi-battles involve 4 players, each sending out 1 Pokémon, and you team up with a friend. It seems important to consider your teammates' preferences in this mode. In multi-battles, trainers appear on the screen, and all 4 Pokémon battle simultaneously. The article mentions that you can decide who to team up with based on your position in the trainer room. Screenshots depict battles with trainers like Natsumi and Taichi, showing Pokémon like Torchic, Zigzagoon, Mudkip, and Poochyena. This page provides an overview of the beginning of Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire, including the starting town, Little Root Town, and Professor Birch. The story begins when the player's character arrives in Little Root Town via a moving truck. The player then heads to Professor Birch's lab. On the way, the player encounters Professor Birch being attacked by a wild Pokémon. The player then chooses one of the 3 starter Pokémon, Torchic, Trico, or Mudkip, to help the professor. After saving Professor Birch, he gives the chosen Pokémon to the player as a gift. The page also describes how the professor's child appears as a rival, who will battle the player. The child's gender depends on the player's chosen gender. If the player is a girl, the rival is a boy named Yuki, possibly translated to Brendan in the English versions. And if the player is a boy, the rival is a girl named Haruka, possibly translated to May in the English versions. The next page details the journey in the Hoenn region of Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire. By winning battles, players receive the Pokédex and a Monster Ball from Professor Birch and his child. The page introduces the Pokénav, highlighting its new features, calling it indispensable for adventure, and it is a high-performance device compared to the Pokégear from previous games. The Pokénav includes a map function showing the entire Hoenn region, current location, and place names. Zooming in reveals locations like Pokemon centers and contest halls. The Trainer's Eye feature records information about encountered trainers, including their Pokemon preferences and strategies. Players can check if a trainer wants a rematch. It also shows the trainer's tendencies, aiding in Pokemon selection for battles. The page notes that trainers' information is registered as you battle them, and details of the trainer are shown. The page also mentions contest halls, highlighting the ability to participate in contests. This page delves into the world of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, showcasing its unique premise and characters. The story begins in the town of St. Ivalice, where protagonists Marsh, Ritz, and Mute stumble upon an ancient tome called Final Fantasy. This book transports them to the mystical world of Ivalice, altering their lives and the world around them. The quest involves unraveling mysteries and attempting to revert Ivalice to its original form. The page introduces key characters, including the three main protagonists, the spirited Ritz Malheur, the righteous Marsh Radiuju, and the introverted Mute Randell. It also presents Sid Randell, Mute's father and a skilled swordsman, and Judge Master, who oversees the judges. The page questions whether Sid is the same person as the judge. Several screenshots accompany the text, depicting gameplay and character interactions. The text also teases new characters and judgment battles, urging players to check them out. A table shows Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, details like the title, developer, Square, release date, winter, genre, simulation RPG, and number of players, unknown at this stage. The next page is about Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, and introduces more characters who will assist Ritz on her journey. First up is Shura, a cool and blunt Viera archer who acts before she thinks. She joins Ritz's clan, and keeps the sometimes reckless Ritz in check, though she hates being told what to do and is even afraid of bugs. Then there's Mont Blanc, a kind-hearted Numu who looks after others. He helps Marsh return to his original world and starts a clan with him, teaching him the rules to survive. He's even aware that Banga don't like being called lizards. Finally, we have No, Mont Blanc's younger brother and an aspiring engineer. He dreams of building his own airship, but his creation is wrecked, leaving him upset. He seems to be venting his frustrations a lot, but we don't know why. There are also screenshots of in-game locations, such as the pub and airship. The next page details the law system in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, where battles are overseen by judges who enforce laws set by the kingdom. These laws, such as restricting certain weapons or abilities, change with each battle and can be influenced by anti-law cards. The page also explains penalties for breaking laws, which can range from warnings to being removed from battle. Breaking laws leads to a judgment after the battle, where the player may face status penalties or fines. In severe cases, the character could be sent to prison, preventing them from participating in engagements. It shows screenshots of judge appearance, the Get Ready battle start, and the judgment screen. This page unveils 5 jobs debuting in the series for Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. These include the Paladin, Bishop, Time Mage, Beastmaster, and Fencer. The Paladin is a knight dedicated to protecting allies, possessing strong defensive abilities, and wholly infused physical attacks. The Bishop is an advanced form of the White Monk, with powerful healing and unique holy magic. The Time Mage manipulates time, offering support with abilities such as Graviga. The Beastmaster can control monsters, utilizing their unique abilities. Finally, the Fencer utilizes rapiers for swift attacks, causing status ailments and covering a wide area. The page then transitions to exploring quests in Ivalice, where players undertake various tasks by joining clans led by Mont Blanc of the Mughals. It is described that players will chase mysteries through quests and solve the mysteries of Ivalice. The page shows a few screenshots of gameplay, joining quests from pubs, completing quests, and rewards. The next page is a promotional feature for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2 on the Game Boy Advance. It features key characters, Phoenix Wright and Maya Fey. The text highlights the game's plot, where Phoenix takes on cases where his clients may be innocent, leading to unexpected twists and turns. The article teases the depth of the game and the second court battle. It states the game has 4 episodes and will take around 30 hours to complete, and was released on October 18th for 4,800 yen. This page continues the promotional feature for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2 on the Game Boy Advance. It emphasizes the unique suspense elements not found in typical mystery novels. The focus is on uncovering lies and contradictions through investigation and courtroom battles. Key characters like Maya Fey, Miles Edgeworth, and the new rival, Karma May, are showcased, with comments on their appearance and roles. There's mention of the Psycholock system, which enhances the investigation part of the game, and how it adds volume to the experience. The game consists of 4 episodes, divided into investigation and courtroom phases. During investigations, players gather evidence and interview witnesses to prove their client's innocence. The courtroom sections involve battling prosecutors and exposing contradictions in witness testimonies. One screenshot shows a witness making a statement with a potential contradiction. The page also promotes the original Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, being available for a limited time at a reduced price of 2,980 yen. It encourages players to experience the series and enjoy the satisfying feeling of solving cases. The next page continues the promotional feature for Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2, spotlighting the compelling characters and murder mysteries within. It highlights characters like Maya Fey's mother, Kimi Fey, described as elegant and polite, but elusive about her true intentions. Maya's cousin, Pearl Fey, is noted for her innocence and strong spiritual power. The page introduces several other key characters: the neurotic hospital director, Director Kirasaki, and the self-proclaimed director of Hata Clinic, Director Hata, who is described as a deranged and destructive individual. There are screenshots of the game and snippets of dialogue, teasing plot points and character relationships. The text also touches on rumors surrounding the characters and events within the game, particularly regarding Director Kirasaki and a suspicious incident involving a nurse. This page focuses on Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2, highlighting characters and their roles in the circus-themed case. We see the magician Max Galactica, who has a large fan following, especially among girls. Tommy is introduced as a clown with jokes that may not always land, and then there is the animal tamer, Milika, described as seemingly innocent but skilled with wild animals like tigers. Screenshots showcase key moments, including Max's flamboyant poses and Milika's interactions with her tiger. Maya remarks on the turnabout or reversal theme of the game. This page is a feature on Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland for the Game Boy Advance. It details Kirby's signature moves, such as inhaling enemies and spitting them out as star bullets. It also highlights copy abilities like Cutter, Stone, Ice, and Crash, as well as Kirby's basic actions, such as floating and using water gun attacks underwater. The page emphasizes the game's action and the ability to copy enemy powers, showcasing 24 different copy abilities. It also touches on the plot of retrieving the Star Rod from King Day. Screenshots illustrate these abilities and gameplay scenarios. The next page focuses on the multiplayer aspects of Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, highlighting how up to 4 players can enjoy the main game together, each controlling a different colored Kirby, pink, yellow, red, and green, working cooperatively to defeat King Day. It also introduces 3 simple button-controlled subgames for multiplayer fun. These subgames include Quick Draw, a tense showdown of reaction time, Bomb Rally, a timing-based game where players volley bombs, and Kirby's Air Grind, a rail riding race. Screenshots illustrate each game's mechanics. The page emphasizes the ease and fun of multiplayer, suggesting that even challenging bosses become easier with teamwork. This page is a feature on Kirby's Dream Land Deluxe, highlighting the game's various level designs and gameplay mechanics. The game features several levels, each with multiple stages. Clearing each stage unlocks new areas, leading to a boss encounter. The page advises players to check the signs above doorways to identify room types like Warp Star launching pads, museums, where Kirby can copy abilities, training arenas, and boss rooms. The feature also gives specific tips for the first boss, Wispy Woods. It suggests that his falling apples and breath attacks are his main offenses. The page advises to attack with a copied ability for an easier victory. Finally, the page shows off some of Kirby's copy abilities, such as Burning, Backdrop, Parasol, Hammer, Ball, Freeze, and UFO. The next page continues the coverage of Kirby's Dream Land Deluxe, showcasing more levels, bosses, and copy abilities. It highlights Level 2, Ice Cream Island, with its tropical setting, and warns players of Meta Knight, who appears as a boss, summoning enemies from all directions. Level 3, Butter Building, challenges players to ascend a tower filled with increasingly tough enemies and obstacles. The page introduces 2 bosses, Paint Roller, who attacks by bringing his drawings to life, and the duo of Mr. Bright and Mr. Shine, who attack in tandem, requiring players to focus on one at a time. Several copy abilities are also detailed, including Beam, Fire, Light, Wheel, and Laser, explaining their functions and advantages. The article gives tips, such as the Fire ability sets fire on flammable items, and the Wheel ability is speedy and lets you run over enemies. This page is all about Mario Party 4 for the Nintendo GameCube. The page highlights the game's core mechanics: rolling dice, moving across the board, and collecting stars. Players choose from 8 characters, including Mario, to compete. Spaces on the board offer various coin gains or losses and random events. The goal is to collect the most stars by the end of the game. The page showcases various items players can use to turn the tide, acquired through item shops or events. These include Super Chibi-Ko, Dika Chibi Hammer, trade cards, and many more. It also introduces new elements in Mario Party 4, including over 60 new minigames, new spaces with Dekakino and Chibikino, the Extra Mode, and a Story Mode. The next page previews the 5 stages available in Mario Party 4 on the Nintendo GameCube, each helmed by a different character guide. The stages are designed with unique events tied to their respective guides. The maps are now 3Ds, featuring new gameplay like riding animals to collect coins in 3D spaces. The 5 guides each offer a unique stage with its own distinct flavor. First, there's a stage called Waku Waku Party, led by Toad, set in an amusement park with attractions like roller coasters and coffee cups. You can also ride the roller coaster to pick up coins. Second is Doki Doki Party, a gamble-themed stage run by Goomba, which has a casino-like atmosphere with roulette events. Next is Hara Hara Party, guided by Shy Guy, a jungle-themed stage with natural disasters like volcanic eruptions and floods. You have to pray to the Shy Guy statue. The fourth is Hayahia Party, led by Boo, creating a haunted house atmosphere. Finally, Yuki Yuki Party is a tropical resort stage with various sea-related events, guided by Koopa Troopa, featuring mini-games like Uki Uki Fishing. This page highlights the mini-games in Mario Party 4 for the Nintendo GameCube. It notes that there are over 60 types, including battle minigames and story minigames, in addition to the standard ones played after each board map turn. The page showcases several minigames. First Place Character Coin Grab is a 4-player game where the winner gets 10 coins. There are also 2 vs 2 minigames, where teams of 2 cooperate to win 10 coins each. Specific minigames are shown with screenshots and descriptions. Colorful Stamps involves jumping and stamping to cover paper with your color. Zeroyon Grand Prix is a 400 meters drag race. Airdrop Plunge is about hip dropping to release air. Bobsled Run challenges players to dodge avalanches while skiing. Treasure Labyrinth is about finding treasure chests. And Bomb Boogaloo involves sending bomb soldiers to the enemy's area. The page also describes the shop locations on the board maps, where players can buy items, coins, and stars, and even gamble at locations like the Fortune House. This GameCube feature spotlights Mario Party 4's diverse minigames. 1 vs 3 minigames pit one player against 3, with varying challenges based on the outcome. Battle minigames like Fluttering Butterflies and Jittery Fishing involve coin betting. Story minigames unlock presents, while Extra Mode features unique minigames like Chip Flip and Koopa Curl. The feature also includes images of Doddsdon's Dodo's Party and Bulbul Sensatsu Shitsu. The next page showcases Super Monkey Ball 2 for the Nintendo GameCube. The page advertises the main game, where you roll a monkey and a ball to the goal within 1 minute. There are varied courses, with obstacles and traps. It also includes a story mode where you defeat Drive Bad Boon and retrieve stolen bananas with Adamei and friends. There are 12 types of party games in total in this version, and the ad includes images of gameplay and describes levels, challenges like Mad Rings, and getting 100 bananas to increase the number of monkeys. The next page is about Super Monkey Ball 2 for the GameCube and its party games. It starts by saying that while party games can feel like an extra feature, the party games in Super Monkey Ball 2 are different because they're well made and offer a lot to do. The page highlights that 24 players can play these games, making them great for playing with friends. At the beginning, only 6 of the 12 games are available, but you can unlock more by earning points in the main game. The page poses the question, which party game is perfect for you? It divides the games into categories, based on whether they require quick reflexes, strategy, or a bit of both. The games are divided into categories. Quick games: Monkey Fight 2, Monkey Target 2, Monkey Shot, Monkey Dogfight. Strategic games: Monkey Billiards 2, Monkey Golf 2, Monkey Baseball. Games requiring reflexes: Monkey Race 2, Monkey Boat, Monkey Tennis, Monkey Futsal. The article asks, can Super Monkey Ball 2 defeat Mario Party? And mentions that it won the Best Party Game Award at E3. There are short descriptions and screenshots of 3 party games. Monkey Race 2, a racing game where monkeys dash through 6 courses and earn points. Monkey Fight 2, a battle game where monkeys try to knock each other off a stage and compete for points. There are normal and survival modes. Monkey Target 2, a game where players guide their monkeys toward targets on a small island. This page focuses on more of the Super Monkey Ball 2 party games. It introduces Monkey Billiards 2, a billiard game where the monkey is the ball, and you can play 9-ball, rotation, and 8-ball. There's also a guide to help beginners. Next is Monkey Bowling 2, which features normal lanes and special lanes that transform. Monkey Golf 2 allows you to use 13 clubs in this full-fledged golf game with 18 holes. Monkey Boat involves racing on water by alternating the L and R buttons, and there are items to use against opponents. Monkey Shot is a 4-player shooting game where you shoot enemies and aim for combos. The next page in the magazine continues with the Super Monkey Ball 2 party games. It starts with Monkey Dogfight, an aerial battle game where monkeys in balloons shoot pineapple missiles. There are normal and survival modes. Then, there's Monkey Futsal, a 5v5 mini soccer game with no offsides. You can choose different teams, play exhibition matches, or just PK shootouts. Next is Monkey Baseball, which is similar to a traditional Japanese toy baseball game. You spin a roulette to determine the hit or out, and the field has pockets that change depending on the shift. Finally, there's Monkey Tennis, where the monkeys are inside balls. It's surprisingly authentic, with top spin and slice options. The court surface affects the ball's bounce and speed. You can also play doubles with 4 players. This page is an advertisement for Momotaro Dentetsu 11. Black Bombi appears, a party-style board game for the Nintendo GameCube. It highlights the new Black Bombi character, who introduces new fears and strategies to the game. The game involves moving around a map, buying properties, and increasing assets. The goal is to become the richest player. The Black Bombi character transforms minus stations into black stations. The page notes the game's genre as board game, the player count as 14, and the release date as December 5th, with a price of 6,800 yen. This page is a feature on Momotaro Dentetsu 11 for the GameCube. It highlights new game modes and elements. The new single-player content includes Momotetsu Official Battle and fun Sakuma Castle modes, offering challenges and replayability. Fun Sakuma Castle mode pits you against tough computer opponents in a series of battles. The page also introduces new gameplay elements, such as purchasing railroads and utilizing Oidon. You can buy railroads from the Ministry of Railway Stations and earn income. Oidon appears across Japan to help the player. The page showcases 3 battle encounters, the Wind God and the Thunder God, and Ashura and Emma. There are small screenshots and game details for the new game modes. The next page dives into Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, a game described as a horror GC special, focusing on unraveling the episodes of the 13 characters featured. The page includes text from the in-game tome of Eternal Darkness, hinting at themes of future knowledge, destruction, and madness. It promotes experiencing the ancient battles against the ancients. It offers a system and episode guide, previewing the 13 playable characters, detailing gameplay mechanics, and exploring the intricate story. It mentions players will enjoy the novel, innovative horror-based systems. The bottom of the page lists the game's title as Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. The developer is Nintendo, the release date as October 25th, and the price as 6,800 yen. The page also specifies the genre as psycho-adventure, the number of players as 1, and the memory card requirement as 15 blocks. This page focuses on Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, billing it as a psycho-adventure where players relive battles across different eras. You'll explore buildings and ruins, solving puzzles, and confronting unidentifiable monsters. The game lets you manipulate the protagonists of each era and features 12 characters, with the player being the 13th. The preview dives into the storyline, focusing on uncovering the mystery of the protagonist Alex's grandfather's death. The story starts with the death of Dr. Edward Roivas, Alex's grandfather. After 2 weeks, with little progress, Alex investigates the mansion herself, finding a strange book which holds the key to the events. The page outlines the flow of the game, including discovering a page within the mansion that unlocks episodes, playing these episodes, and exploring for new pages that can change the world of the game, which are the basis of the game. It introduces Alex Roivas, a female college student from Washington, D.C., who heads to Rhode Island after the mysterious death of her grandfather, as well as Edward Roivas. This page dives into the gameplay of Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, focusing on the strategic combat system. It highlights the ability to lock onto enemies and target specific body parts for attack, explaining how to execute these maneuvers with the controller. The page also introduces a monster called the Chattanooga Zombie, describing it as a resilient enemy that requires targeted attacks. The page also shows you can pick up various weapons to fight the dark side, such as the Ramteo, Gladius, throwing knives, chakrams, maces, and torches. The reviewer notes that the game features a variety of weapons, suited for different situations. Longer swords might be unwieldy in tight spaces, while shorter swords and ranged weapons like throwing knives can be more effective. It ends by mentioning that you can also equip and use shooting weapons. This page explores the spell system in Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, detailing how to create spells by combining power circles and runes to gain advantages in exploration. Different combinations lead to unique spells. The page shows you how to use the spells, and that you can equip a quick spell, which can be assigned to a controller button for quick access. It also explains that even with the same runes, spells can have different attributes. The page shows the Zerototh, Megamore, and Chaturga power system, highlighting the importance of selecting the right one. The page ends by saying the first attribute learned is Zero to Wrath, and other attributes can be learned later in the game. The review also mentions the game's lock-on attack system, commenting on the strategic elements and the need to consider the value of attacks. The next page of the magazine focuses on Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, and the game's sanity system. The review explains that the sanity meter represents the character's mental state. As the sanity meter decreases, the character's thoughts become impaired, and they experience various hallucinations and illusions. The page details 3 meters in the game: the sanity meter, magic meter, and health meter. There are also images of gameplay demonstrating the effects of sanity loss, such as visual distortions, blood on the walls, changes in audio volume, and disturbing imagery. When the sanity meter reaches 0, the health meter starts to decrease. The reviewer notes that the variety of sanity effects are interesting. Also, the sanity system is a unique feature, creating a sense of dread. They also briefly mention the advantage of playing with headphones in a dark room to enhance the experience. This page features Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, and its traps and monsters. The enemies, controlled by an ancient power called the Ancients, have appeared throughout history. Each monster has weaknesses, and the page suggests using lock-on to defeat them efficiently. The large boss-class monsters are said to be very impressive. The article describes the various traps players will encounter in mansions, buildings, and ruins. It mentions the importance of using items and spells to solve puzzles. The game features a map function that allows players to check their current location, view explored areas, zoom in and out, and switch between floors. The page notes that the traps and puzzles in the initial episodes are relatively easy. The reviewer suggests mastering the dash technique to evade monsters, and being mindful of weapon choices in different locations, mentioning that the first levels are beginner-friendly. There are 2 monsters shown: a Chatturga Horror, who attacks with long limbs and light, and a Chatturga-born Thief, who is fast. The next page presents a chapter analysis of the Eternal Darkness game, diving into the first 3 episodes available. The Pious chapter, subtitled The Chosen One, begins with Alex discovering the Book of Eternal Darkness, leading to the story of Pious, a knight from Persia during ancient times. Entrusted with a secret mission from the Emperor, Pious enters mysterious ruins and battles never-before-seen monsters, eventually discovering 3 types of hidden treasures. The page also introduces the 3 main characters in the opening episodes, and a profile of Pius Augustus, b. circa 26 Persia, a young Roman soldier, is featured. He tires of endless war but believes there is a grand purpose in life ahead. The article continues to detail the gameplay, focusing on finding and placing 4 kinds of stone blocks within the ruins. The blocks are scattered and must be collected and placed in the correct order on the wall of the grand hall to open the door. The text explains that, as Pius attempts to take one of the treasures, he transforms into a zombie-like creature, bathed in a strange light. This page continues the chapter analysis of Eternal Darkness, focusing on the Elia and the Grim Reaper chapter. It highlights that by completing the Pius episode, Alex returns to the present and can find a chapter page within a picture frame, which allows players to advance to Elia's episode. Elia's story is set in Cambodia in 1150 AD, and is guided by the Book of Eternal Darkness to a mysterious temple. She is described as a beautiful and inquisitive palace dancer who embarks on a dangerous journey, unaware of the terrifying secrets that await her. The temple Isilia explores is full of traps, including floor switches that trigger mechanisms, trap-filled corridors, and pitfalls. Paintings and candle puzzles are also part of the gameplay. The reviewer comments that it is more puzzle-focused than the Pius episode. The page shows screenshots of the game, depicting the temple interior and the Mantarok, a giant death god that Elia encounters. The reviewer describes it as a creature so immense that it fills the entire screen and is a source of intense fear. There is also a hint to solve a puzzle by matching the sun's position in the picture to the location of the candle. This page continues the Eternal Darkness coverage, focusing on the episode Anthony and the Suspicion of Conspiracy. Anthony is a young messenger in France in the year 814 AD, who comes under a curse. The episode revolves around exploring rooms, solving painting and candle puzzles, and finding chapter pages. Anthony accidentally sees a secret document he wasn't supposed to, leading to his gruesome fate. Gameplay elements include finding the key to the king's room in a locked room in the cathedral, and acquiring runes and power circles. Spells are highlighted as essential, with a focus on repairing broken items, for example, repairing a vase. The curse transforms Anthony, turning him into a zombie-like figure. Despite the curse, he attempts to warn the king. The page also shows that you must find 3 vases in order to open a secret room, and repair a vase that is broken. The page also shows a picture of Anthony with a sword, who bravely walks to his tragic destiny. The player also has to fight enemies such as Chitarga horrors. The next page introduces several characters appearing in future episodes of Eternal Darkness. Robert Bianchi, AD 1460 Persia, is a captive tasked with vital measurements for the sacrifice pillar construction. Peter Jacob, AD 1916 France, a war correspondent covering World War I, finds himself drawn to the Grand Cathedral in Amiens. Maximilien Roivas, AD 1760 America, a doctor and ancestor of Alex, is also shown. Additionally, Paul Luther, AD 1485 France, a traveling monk in medieval France, faces accusations of murder. Edwin Lindsay, AD 1983, Cambodia, is an archaeologist investigating an ancient site. Tarim, AD 565, Persia, seeks a lost treasure as a token of love. Michael Edwards, AD 1991, Middle East, a firefighter sent to extinguish oil fires, uncovers an underground ruin. This page covers Biohazard Zero, known internationally as Resident Evil Zero for the Nintendo GameCube. It emphasizes the game's co-op gameplay mechanics, highlighting how players must utilize the strengths of both Billy and Rebecca to escape dangerous areas. The concept of partner zapping is introduced, where players can split up and assign tasks to each character, exchanging items, or provide combat support, enabling unique strategies. The page notes that teamwork is essential for solving puzzles and overcoming challenges, with some areas requiring both characters to proceed. The status display shows both Billy and Rebecca and their health and status. There are features of 2 people working together, and the page mentions that Billy is better at heavy work and puzzles, while Rebecca is strong with science. This is a weapon and area guide to equip the player for new dangerous life forms that will be encountered in the game. This page includes the game's title, developer, Capcom, release date November 21st, and estimated price 7,800 yen. The genre is survival horror for one player, requiring at least 9 blocks on a memory card. The game also comes bundled with memory card 59. The next page provides a weapon and battle overview for Resident Evil 0. It highlights various weapons available to Billy and Rebecca and their unique characteristics. It mentions 9mm handguns, and how, although the gun type differs between the two characters, the ammunition is interchangeable. The page emphasizes the importance of managing ammunition, as fighting together consumes it quickly. The overview also covers shotguns, noting the balance between ease of use and power, and that each character utilizes a different type. Additionally, it details the powerful Magnum, emphasizing its high damage output, but also its significant recoil. The page also describes the grenade launcher and how different ammunition types can be used for varied effects, and introduces new weapons like the knife and Molotov cocktails, hinting at their strategic use in the game. This page delves deeper into the biological hazard areas of Resident Evil 0, focusing on locations players will explore. It mentions the characters will search through various places to survive, including a train facility and a mysterious mansion reminiscent of the first game. The magazine highlights several key areas: a zombie-infested contaminated zone, a location where weapons can be found, a grand hall, a train car filled with zombies traveling at high speed, a salon with damaged ceilings, a kitchen car with a heavily locked refrigerator, and the driver's cab. It poses the question of whether the player can stop the speeding train and escape. The next page from the magazine focuses on the locations within the umbrella facilities of Resident Evil 0, where the T-virus outbreak is underway. These areas are described as places where formidable and unseen enemies are encountered. The article highlights several locations. Dining room. Dark and lit only by candlelight, the dining room presents a foreboding atmosphere where players can use the furniture as shields in combats. The magazine also features an image of a separate dining room overrun by zombies. The kitchen, presumably located nearby, is another area to search. Observatory. A colossal telescope sits in the observatory, where players might find clues or solve puzzles. Library. The location of this library is a mystery. It features not just books but also some kind of gimmick. It hints that a grand mechanism of some kind is within the room itself, and that books containing information to escape the area can be found. It is mentioned that Umbrella's facilities aren't just populated by zombies, but also by experimental bioweapons, making exploration hazardous. The final images show generic environments and mention how a zombie can appear anywhere, and that pushing bookshelves can activate some sort of change. This page is an advertisement for the GameCube version of Spider-Man, coinciding with the release of the live-action film. It highlights Spider-Man's arrival on the GameCube with a focus on action gameplay. The game, developed by Treyarch and published by Capcom in Japan, was scheduled for release that winter with a price of 6,800 yen. The next page is an advertisement for the release of the Spider-Man video and DVD on October 23rd. It details Spider-Man's abilities, such as sticking to walls and swinging between buildings. The game features scenes from the film, combined with an original storyline. Peter Parker, a high school student, gains superhuman abilities after being bitten by a genetically modified spider. He must then fight evil as Spider-Man. The next page is a double advertisement from Mycom for 2 Nintendo strategy guides being released simultaneously in October. The first guide is for Star Fox Adventures on the GameCube. It boasts a 128-page B5 format book priced at 950 yen. The guide features detailed flowcharts, maps, character information, and walkthroughs to help players navigate Dinosaur Planet. The second guide is for Super Mario Advance 3, also known as Yoshi's Island plus Mario Advance, on the Game Boy Advance. It is a 256-page A5 format book, costing 1,200 yen. The guide uses a horizontal layout for easy map viewing, and comes with a special clear case to prevent damage. The books also feature tips and tricks to help players achieve 100% completion. The next page features a full-page advert for a strategy guide for Super Mario Advance 3 on the Game Boy Advance, and Star Fox Adventures for the GameCube. This page is a sticker sheet from Nintendo Dream Volume 78, with Volume 79 scheduled for release on November 6. The sticker sheet includes a variety of Nintendo-themed designs: a Legend of Zelda, the Wind Waker sticker for the Nintendo GameCube, marking its December 13, 2002 release. Message stickers. Featuring characters from various games like Super Mario Advance 3, with Goomba, Koopa Troopa, Toad, and Shy Guy. There are also message stickers with Yoshi and Mario, and one with a blank bubble. There's a Kirby sticker with a sword. Super Mario Advance 3 stickers featuring Mario, Luigi, and Donkey Kong on skis. A set of Kirby stickers, including artwork from Kirby's Adventure. GameCube game title stickers, including Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, Beautiful Joe, and from TV animation, One Piece Treasure Battle. The next page is an advertisement for the Star Fox Adventures Strategy Guide. The cover features the Star Fox team and an Arwing flying in space. It mentions that the guide will cover various aspects of the game, including combat tactics and translations of English dialogue. The guide also provides support through Cloudrunner Fortress and all the way to entering World City. The guide includes in-depth battle strategies starting on page 68, English conversation lessons starting on page 70, and interviews starting on page 117. The bottom of the page includes a note that the artwork is from the GameCube version, and challenges readers to find differences between the N64 and GameCube versions used in the interview section. The next page is a gameplay guide that provides tips and tricks for battles in Star Fox Adventures. It emphasizes stylish and effective combat tactics. The guide highlights how to use combo attacks to defeat multiple enemies at once, and encourages players to master directional stick inputs to vary attacks. The page details how to perform different combo attacks, including neutral, forward, backward, and rolling attacks, providing image examples. Special attention is given to finishing moves that deal high damage, and how to maximize their effectiveness. There's also a section on attacking enemies who aren't currently locked on, which can be useful in certain situations, but the damage is reduced. This page is a gameplay guide focused on making battles easier in Star Fox Adventures by leveraging the environment and magical abilities. It promotes using the surroundings, such as fuel barrels, to defeat enemies efficiently. The guide covers various magical techniques, including Heat Blast for continuous firing, Ice Blast to freeze enemies, and cooperative attacks with Tricky. Freezing enemies allows for one-hit kills, especially effective against Sharpclaw enemies with shields. Additionally, it mentions an advanced technique using illusion magic to transform into Sharpclaw, which prevents enemies from attacking and allows for stealth maneuvers. The next page offers an English conversation lesson focused on phrases from video games, specifically those without subtitles. The lesson begins with Tricky's lines during gameplay in Star Fox Adventures, such as, "Wait for me," and "Wait up, Fox," and what they mean. Next up are Fox's commands for Tricky with translations. When searching, Fox says, "Find," which translates to "Sagase," meaning search. When stopping Tricky, Fox says, "Stay," which translates to mate. When using the fire command, he says, "Flame," which translates to Hanuda, which means, "It's fire." The page ends with a comment about how Fox is treating Tricky like a dog when he uses the whistle for the stay command. This page dives into the in-game dialogue of Star Fox 64, providing insight into the meanings behind Slippy's, Peppy's, and General Pepper's communications. It decodes phrases like Slippy's, "Hi Fox, it's Slippy," and "Seems like you need some help," offering a translation from the original Japanese text. Similarly, Peppy's "Keep going Fox, you're doing good," and General Pepper's, "General Pepper here. I'll display your current mission status. Don't let us down, Fox," are dissected, explaining their nuances and providing alternative interpretations. The page emphasizes that while these phrases seem straightforward, they convey deeper meaning and trust in Fox's abilities. The next page offers an in-depth look into the English translations of in-game dialogue from the opening sequence of Star Fox 64 through the events leading up to Dinosaur Planet. It analyzes the conversation between Crystal and General Scales. The page then focuses on dialogue inside the Great Fox, including conversations between Slippy, Rob, Peppy, Fox, and General Pepper. It translates the lines and provides context, such as Peppy's annoyance with the music and General Pepper's briefing about the mission on Dinosaur Planet, and the need to locate the Earthwalker dinosaur tribe. It also touches upon a special bonus reward for a successful mission. This page delves into dialogue from the Great Fox in Star Fox 64. It translates and analyses conversations between characters like Slippy, Fox, and General Pepper, as they approach Dinosaur Planet. It describes General Pepper giving instructions, highlighting that pressing the star button on the communicator will allow the player to contact team members for different information. Pepper notes the importance of finding the queen of the Earthwalker tribe, mentioning translator devices being prepared by Slippy. The review also jokes about Fox's eagerness to use his blaster, highlighting General Pepper urging Fox to use his head instead of always shooting first. The next page offers a strategy guide for Cloud Castle in an unspecified game, advising players to acquire the Spellstone. It provides a walkthrough with numbered instructions, including entering the entrance through the spring, ascending the spiral staircase, escaping by pushing a stone in the tower, evading the guards, and detonating the ceiling with a fuel barrel. Other steps include obtaining a rod by illusion, opening a door with a heat blast, entering the power stone at the spring switch, defeating Sharp Claw on the roof, talking to the captive Cloud Queen, destroying the lower pillars of the Cloud Queen, and rescuing 4 children. It also includes tips for specific encounters, such as talking to the Cloud Queen and blowing up walls in the treasure room, and defeating the final Sharp Claw. The guide is accompanied by maps of Cloud Castle's floors. This page presents a guide on how to reach the Ocean Force Point in an unspecified game. It starts by explaining how to solve the mystery of the Klozoa Shrine to open the path to the Ocean Force Point entrance. The numbered instructions cover several steps. 1. Passing through Lightfoot Village to reach Cape Beach. 2. Rescuing the Lightfoot tribe on the beach from a Sharp Claw attack. Quote. 3. Leaving Tricky waiting to create a foothold to enter the Klozoa Shrine. Quote. 4. Entering the waterfall to get into the underground route. Quote. 5. Exiting the Klozoa statue's mouth. 6. Lowering the foothold and using the stick switch and Tricky's stomp command. 7. Burning grass with Tricky's fire. Quote. 8. Raising the water level with a target switch. The watches. Burning grass to drop a stone. 10. Placing a stone on a switch. 11. Releasing the entrance with a spell stone. 12. Stepping on floor panels. Quote. 13. Stopping the water flow with a stick switch. 14. Activating a warp pad. The guide includes maps of various areas, such as Klozoa Statue Interior, Cape Beach, and the Ocean Force Point entrance, and provides visual cues like screenshots indicating actions and locations within the game. This page features a guide on how to navigate the Ocean Force Point to reach the test facility in an unspecified game. It provides a walkthrough with numbered steps and corresponding maps to aid players in completing the challenges. The steps include raising the water level with a stick switch, moving stones to create a foothold, activating mechanisms using fire, and connecting bridges with heat blasts. The guide also covers warping with a spellstone, traveling to Lightfoot Village, getting help from the Cloud Tribe through a minigame, and collecting wooden blocks. Additionally, the guide describes the Lightfoot tests, solving the totem pole puzzle, and overcoming 3 obstacles in the test facility, which involve navigating fire hazards, spike traps, and a cursor control challenge, all with visual aids and screenshots. The next page is a walkthrough on how to free Clara's spirit and obtain the Spellstone in World City. From what looks like Super Mario 64. Step-by-step instructions are given, including tips on defeating bosses, triggering events, and solving puzzles. These steps include getting help from a warp magician, heading to the release point in Illusion Palace, defeating egg thieves, speaking with Queen Ahsoka, and lighting a fire on the platform. It also details how to get the gold tooth on the high ground, use heat blasts on all the tree switches, get the silver tooth by going through the river rings, and setting up the gold and silver teeth. Finally, it explains how to defeat the boss, Red Eye King. There is a map shown with the locations numbered to match the walkthrough. This page is an advertisement for Bokujo Monogatari, Wonderful Life for the Nintendo GameCube, also known as Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life in the West. The advertisement poses the question of whether or not players find the game to be too childish, and encourages them to give the title a try. The page details the game's progression through 6 chapters, which are marriage, childhood, adolescence, adulthood, old age, and then finally, the ending. Screenshots show seasonal crops and fishing activities. The page features comments from producer Yasuhiro Wada, who notes that the game's length is approximately 40 hours. Wada explains that the characters visibly age over time, with graphical changes, while ensuring gameplay remains consistent. The next page presents an inside look at Bokujo Monogatari, Wonderful Life. Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, for the GameCube, diving into the game's core mechanics of marriage and raising children. It introduces 3 potential marriage partners for the player character: Celia, Nami, and Muffy. Each girl is briefly described: Celia, who works on the farm; Nami, an enigmatic girl; and Muffy, a cheerful girl working at the bar. The page hints at the importance of communication in building relationships, and notes the varying personalities of the girls that makes marrying them a challenge. A section discusses how the personality of the child changes depending on the marriage partner, and how the player raises them. According to the interview with Yasuhiro Wada, the child's personality is influenced by the player's actions and choices, such as how they interact with the child and what kind of role model they become. The page contains an interview with the producer of the series, Yasuhiro Wada, where he expresses his excitement about the GameCube version, labeling it as the culmination of the series. Wada speaks of returning to Nintendo, and describes the game's shift towards adventure elements and storytelling. He shares user feedback, addressing both positive and negative responses. Finally, there's a Harvest Moon series, history listing release dates and prices for various titles, from the original SFC game to the PS2 release. The next page delves into Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life for the GameCube, spotlighting crop and animal raising. The fundamental tasks on the farm are crop cultivation and animal husbandry, emphasizing earning money by shipping harvested goods and managing the farm. The page stresses the need for care and affection in raising crops and animals, from planting seeds to harvesting. Crop cultivation begins with plowing the fields, planting seeds, and watering them daily. The time it takes for crops to grow varies based on the crop type and season. Animal husbandry involves purchasing animal offspring, providing daily care, and eventually harvesting goods like milk or eggs as they mature. Overlooking their needs can lead to illness and a decrease in production. The game features familiar animals like chickens, cows, and sheep, plus the debut of goats and ducks, and even the possibility of raising horses and dogs. This section addresses changes in the cultivation system, stating that past patterns won't work. Cultivation and animal raising have been altered. Each crop has its own personality, and even within the same seed type, there are variations in growth potential. The animal raising aspect has also been revamped, requiring more attention to individual personalities and needs, rather than relying on simple routines. Producer Wada discusses these changes, emphasizing that while the basic process of farming remains the same, the individual characteristics of crops and animals add a new layer of complexity. The Game Boy Advance Harvest Moon, Friends of Mineral Town, connects with the GameCube's Harvest Moon, A Wonderful Life, via GBA cable. This allows villagers and items to travel between Forget-Me-Not Valley and Mineral Town, with some crops transferable. However, the connection isn't direct. Instead, information spreads, impacting the GameCube world. The GBA version features 3 new marriage candidates: Papuri, cheerful animal lover; Mary, shy bookworm; and Karen, charming, mature shopworker. Key events in the GBA version have been altered from previous releases, including the prologue and scenario, while character personalities remain largely unchanged. Differences between this GBA version and the PlayStation version are highlighted, with new content despite superficial similarities. The next page highlights Kinnikuman 2, New Generation vs. Legendary Supermen for the Nintendo GameCube, focusing on tag team combinations. The page details how to execute special tag team moves and introduces different teams like Team Parent and Child, featuring Kinnikuman and Kinnikuman Mantero, and the Machine Guns, with Kinnikuman and Terriman, with screenshots of the game's tag team action and character artwork, and mentions that these tag team names change according to the wrestler combinations. This page continues the coverage of Kinnikuman 2, New Generation vs. Legendary Supermen. It highlights specific tag team combinations within the game, showcasing unique moves and team dynamics. It begins by explaining that tag combinations outside of specific pairings can produce moves like the Crossbomber and Double German Suplex. The page then introduces several tag teams. Red Reigns, Jade and Brocken Jr., known for their Berlin Red Rain attacks. 20 million powers. Ramen Man and Buffalo Man, known for their brute force and Longhorn Train attack. M and K Connections. Kinnikuman Mentaro and Terry the Kid. Great Texans. Terryman and Terry the Kid, using the Texas El Dorado. New Nightmares. Sunshine and Checkmate, known for a hell combination. Dynasties. Robin Mask and Kevin Mask, with their Robin Special and Big Ben Edge Dream co-star. Each team is accompanied by character artwork and screenshots of their tag team moves in action. The next page features Rune 2 for the Nintendo GameCube, describing it as a card-action RPG and the second installment in the series. It details impressions from the Tokyo Game Show (TGS) version of the game, highlighting improvements such as real-time elements and strategic battles. Reviewers note the enhanced sense of immersion with creatures roaming the field and strategic card-based combat. Screenshots show in-game action and card interfaces. The game includes elements of puzzle solving and creature management. It also lists the details such as the title, developer, release date, genre, and player count. This page of Rune 2 highlights new features and gameplay mechanics. It introduces a lock-on feature that allows players to focus on enemies, improving combat smoothness. The page details a Trio the Hagen combo, showcasing special moves with Stormhagen, Nutshagen, and Rockhagen. There's also mention of improved story elements, with cutscenes between stages. The page shows examples of the lock-on mechanic and descriptions of the different Hagen attacks within the combo. It describes the Versus mode, where NPC opponents from the story, such as the Mysterious Order, can be used in combat. The next page is a promotional page for Godzilla. Destroy All Monsters Melee on the Nintendo GameCube. The page highlights the game's monster battles and features screenshots of in-game action. The basic monster actions like punching, kicking, grabbing, and throwing are explained. Using buildings as weapons is emphasized, as is the ability to store energy for special attacks. The page also shows some aerial combat and combos, and that you can destroy buildings to use as weapons. It also features the appearance of the military, with helicopters and tanks, and the UFO. Finally, it mentions that the battlefields are based on cities like New York and Tokyo. This page features the starting roster of 3 playable monsters in Godzilla. Destroy All Monsters Melee. First up is Godzilla 90s, described as the strongest and mightiest monster born in Japan, with sharp claws, fangs, immense power, and a devastating atomic breath attack. One key move to use is the giant tail attack. Next is Anguirus, characterized by the needles on his back. Despite his appearance, he is deceptively agile. One of his key moves is Sonic Roar. Finally, there's Megalon, a beetle-like monster who uses drills on his head and arms. One key move to use is the Energy Arc. The page also briefly introduces King Ghidorah and Gigan as monsters that appear in the game. King Ghidorah is described as a space monster with 3 heads and golden scales who uses gravity beams, and Gigan features hammer hands, rotary cutters on its chest, and is covered in weapons. The next page highlights Tales of the World. Narikiri Dungeon 2, focusing on Regnia, the starting town where Frio and Chiaro reside. It introduces key locations like Stevia's clothing shop, where you can find essential outfits, and Fundicle's shop for buying items, along with places like the Café Beck, Pub Rose, and Popel's workshop. Other important spots include the church with a kindly sister and the elder's house. Additionally, it showcases Mint and Cress, providing some insight into their roles, and a screenshot of a barrier. There is also an image of Ninja Frio with an attack pose. This page delves deeper into Tales of the World. Narikiri Dungeon 2, highlighting the various dungeons and events awaiting players. It starts with the basic dungeon, noting the events that await, and mentioning that characters from the Tales of series will appear. It then divides the game's world into 3 continents: West, East, and Central. The West is characterized by water-themed dungeons like the Millennial Ice Cave and Water Castle, while the East offers a more diverse landscape with forests, grasslands, and rocky mountains, including the Floating Necropolis and Challenge Towers. The Central area features the Great Tree Shrine, Regnia Town, and the Dark Tunnels. The page also introduces the character Chiaro, a musician, and includes gameplay tips, such as how to operate water pumps in the Water Castle, and that entering the Tower of Trials requires defeating a specific enemy. It also mentions the Hunter's Forest, guarded by the goddess Eliante. Finally, it includes an event check featuring Suzu, who can join the party if you talk to her, and notes that Ninja Frio has a chance encounter with a ninja. The next page is a promotional spread for Klonoa Heroes. Densetsu no Star Medal. Klonoa Heroes, Legendary Star Medal, for the Game Boy Advance. It highlights the storyline where Klonoa must retrieve the Hikari Sakura flower from Gantz, and how he ends up chasing Gantz through different areas. The page introduces gameplay elements, like the vision map for navigation and field maps for action. It also showcases a battle scene and details how Gantz eventually joins Klonoa, allowing players to switch between them. This is done by defeating Gantz. A character profile for Gantz is included, saying that he is an enemy from Klonoa 2. G2. This page shows how he becomes a companion and can be used by Klonoa, and his line, "Alliance is something I don't like." The page includes game details such as the title, release date of December 13th, developer Namco, price of 4,800 yen, genre as action RPG, and player count of 1. The next page dives deeper into the gameplay mechanics of Klonoa Heroes, Legendary Star Medal. It explains that Klonoa excels in close-quarters combat, wielding weapons like the Crash Ball and Megaton Hammer. Players can rapidly press buttons for combo attacks. Gantz, on the other hand, is a ranged fighter, specializing in firearms and keeping enemies at a distance. Players can customize Klonoa and Gantz to adapt their strengths for different battles. The page also introduces custom points, earned by defeating enemies. These points can be allocated to stats like AT, Attack, DF, Defense, AG, Agility, and SP Special, to tailor the characters to the player's preferred playstyle. The page also introduces that some battles take place underwater, using Deep 1 submarine suits from Klonoa 2, offering unique weapons and movement. This page is about Eternal Arcadia, known as Skies of Arcadia in the West, for the Nintendo GameCube, an RPG where sky pirates battle it out across the skies. The game features various sky pirates, some righteous and some villainous. It introduces 3 of the Blue Rogues, who fight for justice alongside the protagonist, Vise. Dine, Vise's father and captain of the Albatross, teaches Vise the ways of a sky pirate. There's also the engineering genius, Santheme, a quirky family man who travels with his wife and child. And then, the love-struck female captain, Rhyme. On the other side are the Black Pirates, wanted criminals with bounties on their heads. The page shows a wanted poster for Ruby and Parts, a notorious duo. Other villains mentioned include Balboa, a pirate who lives to steal, and the rampaging Lapin, who pilots a machine called the Gunarm. There's also Dobra, a gourmet pirate who robs ships for food. Lastly, the page introduces a mysterious trio of imposters who are tarnishing Vyemsa's name by committing crimes. The next page is an advertisement for the GameCube version of Ikaruga. This version includes an original mode to hone your skills and aim for a high score. The original mode allows you to master stages 1 and 2 with customizable chapters, offering Conquest mode for focused practice. There's also an Internet Challenge mode, Arcade mode, Demo play to learn strategies, Slow play to master chain combos, and Normal play to master the game. The aim is to get high scores to compete with players all over the world. The game is scheduled to be released January 16, 2003, for 5,800 yen. This page focuses on Shin Megami Tensei, Devil Children Light Book, Dark Book, for the Game Boy Advance, revealing 2 new fusion systems. The first is Magical Equipment Fusion, where you combine demons with special items called magical equipment to learn new skills. Equipping the Demon Land with the Bloody Clothes equipment allows it to learn the Blood Rain skill. The second is Fossil Fusion, where you combine 3 devil fossils to create a devil. The game also features Hetero Fusion, where combining 2 different types of demons creates a completely new demon, with possible fusion accidents leading to special demons. Consanguineous Fusion lets you strengthen a demon or rank up one to the same species. Pure Fusion involves combining 2 identical demons for further strengthening. The next page is an advertisement for Mr. Driller Drill Land for the Nintendo GameCube. It proclaims the game features the best gimmicks in the series' history. The page introduces 2 attractions, DR India Adventure and Horror Night House. DR India Adventure is described as an adventure game set in ancient ruins, with the player searching for golden underground people while avoiding traps like rolling boulders, needles, and flames. A screenshot shows a character dressed as Indy from Indiana Jones, and another shows a game screen. Horror Night House is an attraction based on a haunted mansion theme where players defeat ghosts with holy water in dark corridors. A screenshot shows the character dressed as something like a vampire hunter. It mentions bats and poison attacks from monsters hidden in blocks. This page focuses on Chocobo Land, a game of dice for the Game Boy Advance. The page explains the game's mechanics, focusing on how friends can support Chocobo during gameplay. To clear stages and collect crystals, players need to borrow the power of friends, who appear as magical stones on the game board. Placing these stones on the board activates special effects. The page then highlights different friendly characters. White Mage recovers Chocobo's condition using healing magic. Carbuncle nullifies the effects of attack magic stones used by rivals. Doru, Dole, a hamster who often falls asleep but can be helpful when awake. The page also introduces the Black Mage, who is an enemy of Chocobo. The Black Mage appears during picnics due to the power of a giant dice, leading Chocobo to another world. Players must battle rivals, including the Black Mage, to collect crystals. The page showcases screenshots of gameplay, showing characters, game boards, and action sequences. There are also details on the title, developer, release date, price, genre, number of players, and GBA link cable compatibility for the game. The next page is all about Mega Man Battle Network 3 for the Game Boy Advance. It introduces the plot, with new enemies and styles emerging. The story involves incidents and adventures for Lan and Mega Man, but details are scarce. There's also a mention of the return of the N1 Grand Prix from the anime. Screenshots reveal various locations, including a science facility, school trips, and the digital world. A new character, Kingman, is introduced, designed from a fan contest. The page also reveals the bug style, a new form for Mega Man, shrouded in mystery. Mega Man's stats and abilities are shown, including attack, rapid, and charge, with an electric grand style available. There are images of Mega Man battling Kingman, who uses chess piece-like attacks, and a heat gut style is shown using charge shots with fire. This page is an advertisement for the Game Boy Advance RPG, Cosmic Soldier Chocobotter, Invaders from Space, where you play as an enlightener to protect Earth. The battle system is highlighted, called Advance Action Battle, where timing is key to maximizing attacks. It also shows guarding and building up a meter to unleash UFO support attacks. The story involves a Kikyo, a schoolboy who becomes an enlightener after finding a meteorite. Screenshots show gameplay and plot points, mentioning the mysterious Unity. The next page is a collection of reader comments and letters to the editors of Nindori Gakuen, Nindori Academy. The page features a collage of text bubbles, character arts, and handwritten notes. Readers share thoughts and questions about the magazine, games, and even personal experiences. There's discussion about game preferences, favorite manga, and some humorous remarks about names and nicknames. Some questions and topics include comments from readers who could not buy the Fox comic and how it was only printed as a limited edition, some readers suggesting names and nicks, and some requesting reprints of old material, along with some images of reader-created artwork. This page is a collection of reader submissions to Nindori Gakuen, covering a variety of topics and experiences. The first section introduces this week's head boy, Matsutake Pikuchan, who laments being unable to erase the blackboard alone. A reader shares a story about mistaking a bowl of chestnuts for severed heads. Another confesses to hiding their sister's game, only to forget where they put it. Someone else recounts an embarrassing moment of mishearing Nindori in public. The Real Dreams, Foolish Dreams, My Dreams section features readers' dream experiences. One dreams of Zelda being played by the actress Koyuki and Saria being played by Yumi Adachi. Another dreams of the hero from Golden Sun being used as a Pokemon. The Help Game Emergency Squad section addresses a reader's question about the keyboard for Phantasy Star Online. The response explains that the keyboard has separate connectors for the controller and keyboard sections, allowing for two-player gameplay with one person handling character control and the other handling keyboard input. Finally, the Treasure of Our Village section highlights a reader's find, a fireworks bag featuring what they consider to be a crossover between Mario, Link, and Yoshi. The next page presents a collection of reader submissions and questions for Nindori, covering various topics related to Nintendo games and experiences. The page starts with the theme of, which sibling would you rather have? a Mario-like older brother, or a Luigi-like younger brother. Readers share their preferences, citing reasons like Mario being fun to play with, or Luigi being kind and reliable. Some offer alternative opinions, like wanting both or neither, with one even expressing a desire for 12 younger sisters. The editor's help box tackles reader questions. One asks where to buy the board game Catan, and the response directs them to the game's website for a list of retailers. Another question seeks advice on recording gameplay footage from Animal Crossing Plus, with instructions provided on connecting AV cables and adjusting settings. A third question expresses feelings of being overwhelmed by work, prompting a lighthearted suggestion to imagine the editors are also under pressure. The section, a little concerned about, addresses various reader observations. One wonders if the character Fox from Star Fox Adventures has gained weight. Another questions why Tingle The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, doesn't get along well with Link. A reader also ponders whether underage characters in Black Matrix Zero should be consuming the power of sake items. Finally, someone wonders why villagers in Animal Crossing don't remove their hats. The next page showcases a collection of reader impressions and a question for the editors. Fox McCloud in Star Fox 64 is mentioned with a reader commenting that after playing, they noticed many birds flying in the sky outside, and their hands instinctively went to the controller. Another player who has seen the real fur of the Fox Adv wants to start looking for fleas. A different reader said they wanted the GC version of Biohazard, Resident Evil. Their older brother retorted that they would be going to the toilet in the middle of the night if they played it. Reader impressions on Tomato Adventure is that it's recommended for those who dislike tomatoes. A reader also shares their enjoyment of Star Fox Adventures, praising the feeling of solving puzzles and overcoming challenges. They express gratitude for the game, helping them understand the appeal of 3D adventure games. There is also a Senryu, Japanese poem, impression on Fire Emblem Sealed Sword, humorously noting that Roy is surrounded by beautiful women, implying his high luck stat is linked to his appeal to women. A reader asks if the GameCube is only for children. The editors respond that they would like to discuss the difference between children's games and adult games. This page is titled, Ask Death Hermit's Advice. There is a question about event data in games, such as Pokemon, figuring out how to access event items that aren't normally available in the game. The example is Mew in Pokemon, also figure data in Majora DX, and furniture in Animal Crossing. The reply is that these are preloaded into the software, and any additional data comes on memory cards. There is a question about how to pay for Spaso, Phantasy Star Online. The reply is that you can purchase Hunter's License with web money, which can be bought at a convenience store or game shop. The reader asks about modding a GameCube to run on batteries. The response humorously suggests attempting to connect a bunch of batteries together, but warns about potential damage to the console and refers to existing portable GameCube batteries. There is a section called Death Hermit's Guide to Life, where readers submit their concerns. One reader says they are too considerate of others, and asks if it's due to a lack of confidence. Another reader says they are a fan of someone, and asks for help. The next page showcases fan submissions to the GameSoft Fan Club from Nindori Gakuen. Readers share their thoughts and fan art for various games, primarily from the Fire Emblem, Super Smash Bros. DX, and Super Mario series. The Fire Emblem section features comments on Fire Emblem games, including requests for a GBA remake of Gaiden, discussions about favorite characters, and strategies for playing the games. There's fan art of characters like Lilina, Wolt, and Roy, as well as a comic strip about the games. The Super Smash Bros. DX section includes a reader expressing their desire for more fluffiness in Fox, from Star Fox, when he appears in Smash Bros., and another who says they recently purchased the game and are now obsessed with the Ice Climbers. There's also a call for another character popularity poll. The Mario section features fan art of Princess Peach from Super Mario Sunshine and reader comments. One reader shares that they had difficulty with the game and had to get help from their sister. Another reader suggests a special corner for fans to draw and send in their own version of Mario. The editor notes that the magazine will no longer have separate club and association designations for reader submissions. This page shows a collection of reader submissions focused on The Legend of Zelda, Star Fox Adventures, Kirby, and Animal Crossing. The Legend of Zelda section has fan art and comments, with one reader excited about the expressiveness of Link in the upcoming game, noting that even though it's animated, the emotions seem more realistic than before. Another expresses concern that the initial version of the game was a bit dirty in appearance, hoping the visuals are cleaned up for the final release. The Star Fox Adventures section features a reader who enjoyed the game and liked the ending. Another reader shares their thoughts on Fox, calling her attractive and inquiring if they should buy the game. There are more comments on the game's difficulty, music, and full voice acting. The Kirby section showcases fan art and comments about the Kirby games, including Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland on GBA, and the Megaton Punch minigame. Some readers express their wishes for an anime adaptation of Kirby. The Animal Crossing section is mostly about Halloween celebrations in the game, with readers sharing tips for getting items and decorating. There's advice on how to trick villagers into giving you furniture. The next page is a reader submission section of the magazine, showcasing various fan art, letters, and thoughts on different Nintendo games. The Mother section displays fan art of Wholeness and Paula from Earthbound. Readers discuss the game's unique qualities, with one hoping for a remake. Pokemon section features fan art and comments about Pokemon. One reader shows their favorite partner, and one is asking for which partner to pick. The Golden Sun section shows art and comments about Golden Sun. Readers are waiting for the soundtrack. Quote, the Seiken section displays fan art about the Mana series, and one reader wishes to create a Seiken department. There's also a small section dedicated to third-party games, with readers sharing their love for games like Castlevania, Circle of the Moon, Mystical Ninja starring Goemon, and Harvest Moon. Finally, the page includes info about the next issue's submission deadlines. The next page delves into the relationship between Nintendo and Rare. The article starts by revisiting Rare's acquisition by Microsoft and the Nintendo's decision to part ways with the company. It discusses how Rare, originally founded by the Stamper Brothers, gained Nintendo's trust with Super Donkey Kong, Donkey Kong Country. Rare was one of the key members of the Dream Team on the N64, creating games like GoldenEye and Banjo-Kazooie. The author highlights the quality of Rare's games and Nintendo's later efforts to support external developers. The author also questions why Nintendo didn't buy Rare. The article mentions collaborations with other companies and concludes that Microsoft wanted Rare for its exclusive games. It notes that the last GC game from Rare will be Star Fox Adventures. Finally, the author conveys the feelings that readers have of both excitement and anticipation for Rare's future with Microsoft. This page features Game Scenery Theory by Akira Himekawa, HN, the final installment. It explores the importance of music in The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, suggesting that the music is not just background music, but a vital element. There are small illustrations of Link playing the ocarina, Kepora Gebora, and other small characters, like the composer writing music. The author shares their thought that artwork should strive to be like music, and notes that art and music cannot be separated. This is the final installment of Akira Himekawa's Game Scenery Theory, focusing on The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Illustrations depict Link in a dungeon, likely the Forest Temple, facing a shadowy boss. Himekawa reflects on the initial fright of boss battles and the game's unusual realism, noting Link's surprisingly genuine movements despite the 3D graphics. The atmosphere, particularly the Temple of Time, is described as unique and sacred, akin to a church. The author appreciates the game's blend of realism with a childlike innocence, a quality now rare in media, and observes a genuine portrayal of children in literature. The column concludes with illustrations of Navi, a child, and the Master Sword, and a thank you to readers. The next page features the Game Music Forum, a section dedicated to reader feedback and opinions on game soundtracks. One reader asks about soundtracks for Star Ocean on the Super Famicom and Golden Sun on the Game Boy Advance, while expressing appreciation for the Famicom Music Volume 1 and 2. The response confirms that there is a CD release for Star Ocean, perfect sound collection with arranged versions, and encourages searching for this. Another reader expresses love for the Saria's song from the Legend of Zelda series, which is mentioned as from Great Bay, while a third reader reminisces about the music from Final Fantasy VI and asks if a soundtrack is available. The reply confirms that the Final Fantasy soundtrack is available, recommending the Final Fantasy VI original sound version and the grand finale orchestral arrangement. The page continues with a reader asking if Kirby, Mother, and Fire Emblem exist. They express a desire for sheet music for Fire Emblem and Kirby themes. The reply indicates that while some KERDs exist, they are hard to find. It recommends checking used CD shops and suggests some CD releases for Mother and Kirby. The column also features reader comments, including one about being moved by the ending of Dr. Mario after clearing level 20. Hi, and another expressing excitement for a Chrono Trigger soundtrack. The column concludes with responses from the editor, including information about the availability of music from ecap.com. This page is a memorial for Chizuru, a 64 Dream magazine editor who passed away unexpectedly. She worked on the magazine from November 1996 to May 2000. She was known for her work on the Rokudori editorial team, contributing to the N64 Dream ranking and pages. She was respected for her professionalism and dedication. The page reflects on her personality and impact, sharing memories from colleagues and readers. There are tributes and anecdotes throughout the page, including readers' artwork of her likeness, and a section dedicated to her column, Analog Chat. The page also includes snippets of her work and contributions, such as her character design and illustrations. There are mentions of her favorite things like sake. The page features pictures of the 64 Dream Team working together, as well as artwork drawn in her memory. The next page is a comic titled The Tenin Family by Hyanon, Episode 6, Dashkun's First 64DD Experience 1. It features a young boy named Dashkun, who's a big fan of Nintendo and the game star Fox 64. The comic revolves around the excitement of discovering a 64DD system at home. Dashkun's mom, who apparently used to work at Nintendo, has completely forgotten about the 64DD until Dashkun finds it. The comic shows the unboxing of the 64DD, calling it a big release. They excitedly hook it up to the N64 and start it up. The comic also mentions that the family has multiple 64 consoles, but you can't connect it to the Pikachu 64. The N-Cube demo is also featured. Dashkun gets so excited that he starts getting a nosebleed. This page continues the comic about Dashkun's 64DD experience. Dashkun is excited about the 64DD and says the game Kyojin no Doshin 1 is the one to play, and his mom mentions she has only played the GameCube version. The comic highlights the game's opening, showing the title screen and some in-game text that appears. The mom disregards Dashkun's last words while playing. The comic mentions the game reports on each day you haven't been playing. It also features text from the game after 1,000 days have passed. The mom comments that the island is boring. After playing for 1,000 days, the god appears. Dashkun expresses his love for the N64 controller, and his mom tries to change the subject. Dashkun wants to try playing other games. The mom is not fond of his finger position on the camera control. Finally, Dashkun is excited about finding more games inside a box. The comic then closes with a statement that there is too much content to cover in one sitting of the 64DD. The next page is a release schedule for GameCube and Game Boy Advance games. It lists titles such as Z-Cube, Eternal Darkness, Tetris World, One Piece Treasure Battle, Mario Party 4, Biohazard Zero, Super Monkey Ball 2, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, NBA Live 2003, Evolution Skateboarding, and Zelda no Densetsu, Kaze no Tact, The Wind Waker. For the Game Boy Advance, the schedule includes games like Acrobat Kids, Pokemon Sapphire and Ruby, Cooking Series, Super Robot Wars, Harry Potter, Dual Blades, Little Buster Q, Rockman XE3, and several others. The list includes release dates, titles, publishers, prices, and ID numbers for each game. It also features a section for games with release dates yet to be determined. In addition, the page lists several game titles that were announced for release in 2003. Along with titles for the Game Boy Color such as Kanji Boy 3 and Card e-Reader. This page is titled Muscle Ankate, Volume 78, and features a cooking segment. This segment, Muscle Cooking, stars a muscular man who challenges viewers to make cheese. He emphasizes the simplicity of the recipe, requiring only milk and a bit of lemon juice. The host, under the name Oka-chan Nels, expresses skepticism about the cheese-making process. The recipe involves heating milk in a pot, adding lemon juice, and separating the curds from the whey. The resulting cheese can be seasoned with salt and added to salads, while the whey can be consumed as a calcium-rich drink. The page features a questionnaire, along with a list of winners for various prizes, including a Nintendo GameCube, Game Boy Advance consoles, game-related merchandise, and games such as Samurai Evolution, Cherry Blossom Country, and Rockman and Forte. This page is a Nintendo Dream Questionnaire, with a deadline of November 20th. Readers can win prizes by answering the survey, and winners will be announced in the February issue. The questionnaire asks about the reader's school or occupation, grade level, age, and gender. It also asks about favorite magazines, gaming platforms, desired game consoles, favorite and least favorite articles in the magazine, and anticipated future games. There are also questions about motion sickness in 3D games and memorable game commercials. Finally, it asks which celebrities readers would like to see in Nintendo commercials. The page also includes lists of magazines, game consoles, and articles to choose from for the survey. Some notable games and consoles mentioned are GameCube, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation,
Nintendo 64,
Famitsu, V-Jump, Hyper PlayStation 2, Zelda, The Wind Waker, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, Super Monkey Ball 2, Mario Party 4, Star Fox Adventures. GC New Soft Catalog. The next page is an interview with Takaya Imamura about Star Fox. It discusses the behind-the-scenes of Star Fox's creation and the hardships of developing Star Fox Adventures, as well as the collaboration with Sega and Namco. The interview promises to be packed with content and includes Shigehisa Nakaweshi, the artist behind the Star Fox comics. The page suggests that reading the interview will make you a Star Fox expert. The bottom features the Star Fox team characters and also directs readers to page 67 for strategy guides. It also notes the illustrations on this page are from the N64 version of the game, inviting readers to compare them to the GameCube version. This page features an interview with Takaya Imamura, art director at Nintendo, focusing on the Star Fox series. Imamura discusses the fan response to Star Fox Adventures, his reliance on internet feedback, and the challenges of capturing originality in games. He explains the creation of the original Star Fox on the Super Famicom, detailing the use of the Super FX chip and Miyamoto's influence, specifically, Miyamoto suggesting the use of animal characters. He also mentions his involvement in Zero and The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, before his work on Star Fox, which was the fourth game he worked on at Nintendo. He touches on designing bosses for games, specifically mentioning his work on transparent character models. Imamura recalls his work on F-Zero, including course design, pixel art, and logo creation. He was asked about adding animal characters to a shooting game, and the team was surprised and unsure if this would work. Miyamoto, influenced by the Fushimi Inari Shrine, suggested using a fox. Imamura also reveals the origin of the team's animal choices: Fox, Peppy Hare, and Falco Lombardi. He also recounts his thoughts for which animals should be the characters, and mentions his thought process behind the animal characters. There's a sketch of the Star Fox team, including Fox, Falco, Toad, and Peppy, along with some doodles of their hands and feet. This page also introduces Shigehisa Nakaweshi from the Star Fox comic series. The next page features an interview with Takaya Imamura about Star Fox, where he discusses the naming and character background of Andros, revealing that his name came from forgetting Ganondorf and that the name sounds similar to Andromeda. He mentions that European and American versions of Andros were changed due to the name resembling Nazis, so he was renamed Andros. Imamura shares anecdotes about other characters, like Peppy Hare's honeymoon destination being the Planet Zones. He also talks about the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band as inspiration for the name of Peppy Hare. Imamura reveals that the character of Yarudpan was based on his wife, and they were about to get married, and she was a fox-faced woman. He also mentions the initial name of the Star Fox title was Star Glider. There's an image of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover, a screenshot of Star Fox gameplay, and a photo of Takaya Imamura at E3 in 1997. The page ends with a question about what Nintendo means to Imamura, to which he replies that it is like a long-established Kyoto business that creates games with traditional techniques and that is collaborating more to create new products. The next page is a dream interview, focusing on the development of Star Fox 64. Takaya Imamura discusses the transition from 2D to 3D for the N64, a challenging task for the programmers and designers. He mentions that the team, including programmer Morita Kazuaki, experimented with the Super Famicom version of The Legend of Zelda as a base. Imamura mentions the initial difficulties of getting approval for the project, but ultimately, after presenting a promotional video at Space World 95, the project gained momentum. He shares his thoughts on the direction of the game, including the desire to create a movie-like presentation, and the challenges of balancing gameplay and character design. Imamura discusses the inspiration behind the Landmaster tank stage, which features the ability to switch to an overhead view to shoot down enemies. He also talks about the reasons for the 8-year gap between the original Star Fox and Star Fox 64, citing the desire to make significant changes and improvements to the game. Imamura mentions the initial concept of Star Fox Adventure, a project led by Rare, being integrated with Dinosaur Planet and being made one game. He also touches on the internal discussions about what kind of weapons Fox should wield and how that changed during development. There is an image of the Landmaster tank equipped with a laser cannon, and Takaya Imamura is mentioned wanting to create a game where enemies could be shot down. This page features the dream interview with Takaya Imamura regarding Star Fox 64. Imamura discusses how the staff would sit next to each other, adjusting individual images on the spot. He emphasizes the significant workload, but the challenges he was faced with. He mentions living in an old English mansion for 2 months. He also discusses his experiences with the development team at Rare and the challenges of working with the English team. Imamura mentions that Nakawe's comic illustrations aligned with his vision for the project. He mentions Nakawe was very familiar with the characters. He states that he would provide rough sketches, and Nakawe would add details to them. Nakawe mentions checking details like the color of Arwing's thrusters in different environments. Imamura jokes about Nakawe potentially throwing away some clay models of Fox. The page also includes images of the hotel, clay figures of Fox, early sketches for the comic, and the text, "It's okay if Fox changes depending on the work, like Godzilla." The next page features the conclusion of the dream interview with Takaya Imamura and Nakawe. Imamura talks about the various dramas during the 8 years of development, and how the comic adaptation aimed to capture the essence of Star Fox, as well as wanting Andros to be more sympathetic. He expresses hopes that Andros will reappear in future installments. Nakawe mentions how the current iteration is a stage for the actors. Imamura hopes for an ongoing series. Imamura talks about distributing comics in stores to customers as a gift. Imamura expresses his enthusiasm for different versions of Fox, including those from Super Smash Bros. X, and how he's considering incorporating elements of Nakawe's comics into future designs. The interview touches upon the voice acting in Star Fox Adventures and Star Fox 64, noting the use of Rare's staff for voice work. Imamura recalls initially doing the voices himself for Star Fox 64 and how he was told his attempts were terrible, so the team went with professional voice actors. Imamura recalls that some people prefer the boo-boo sound from the Super Famicom version of Star Fox. Nakawe is asked what he would be if he was reborn, and he says, "An alien, born in a world where everything is unseen." The page features images of character designs and a link to Nintendo's website. The next page is a Star Fox interview with Takaya Imamura, where he humorously recounts making monster noises for the original game and feeling that it was not suitable. He discusses the English version of Star Fox Adventures and the design of Crystal. Imamura mentions that the team also wanted to add some adult themes, and how Miyamoto was the one that wanted to show it. He explains that Crystal was made sexier to be more in line with his vision, and what the team was aiming for. Imamura explains the importance of making sure that the characters do not feel out of place alongside Fox, noting that they must try hard not to upset the fans. Imamura expresses excitement for future collaborations with Sega and Namco on Zero and Star Fox. He remembers that the Zero team cannot be talked about, and suggests to ask Nagoshi about it instead. When asked what he was like as a child, Imamura describes himself as a mischievous kid who loved drawing and did not study much. He states that he has always been a fan of drawing since a young age. He states his dream as a child was to be a manga artist. The page includes a column about how he got into Nintendo after hearing the Beatles and meeting Miyamoto. The page is accompanied by images of Imamura and Crystal. This page is from the Ask Nintendo section. It features a queue and a format where readers' questions are answered by someone from Nintendo's planning department. One of the questions is whether Tingle will appear in a GC game, to which the response is, there might be something coming to GBA. There's a character data file on the Happy Mask Salesman from The Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, and Majora's Mask. The page notes that he's likely not to appear in The Wind Waker, but the person in charge of planning at Nintendo resembles the Happy Mask Salesman. Another question asks if there will be any big announcements towards the end of 2002. The response teases upcoming releases like Mario Party 4 and The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker, for the GameCube. There's also mention of sales campaigns and potential bonuses for purchasing Zelda games. The page includes an image of the GameCube development codenamed Dolphin, and a comment on Iwata's statement about the second year of a new console being a critical one. This page continues the Ask Nintendo Q and a section, now focusing on GameCube software. One question asks if new GameCube software will be announced soon. The answer assures readers that there are many titles in the works, and they plan to reveal them, possibly around the end of the year or the start of the new year. Another question asks about the subtitle for the new Zelda game. The answer confirms it will be The Wind Waker, and teases the role of the Wind Waker itself, suggesting it's more than just a simple item. The development staff is putting their heart and soul into the game, and it utilizes the GameCube's capabilities. The final question asks if we'll see a realistic-looking Link on the GameCube. The response acknowledges the strong demand for it, and doesn't rule it out, but says the team wants to convey the essence of adventure and immersion, which is why the Wind Waker has its visual style. The page adds that Nintendo's motion capture facility is being used in GameCube development. A screenshot of Giftpia, releasing at an unspecified date for the GameCube, and shows a village-like setting with two characters in shot, and also a screenshot of Link in an open field. Finally, there is an older screenshot of a more realistic Link. The next page features more questions from readers in the Ask Nintendo section. One question asks if Wario World GC will be released within the year. The answer is no, but they expect it to be released in January or February of the following year. They also mention that there will be many other GameCube titles released from other manufacturers, and that Wario World is a very appealing title. Another reader expresses their excitement for the release of Zero GC. Nintendo thanks the reader and informs them that the release date has been changed from the end of 2002 to this winter. A reader asks if Rare's GameCube software will no longer be playable now that the company is part of another company. Nintendo responds that it will be so, as Rare is now a fully owned subsidiary of a company that also releases game consoles, but they may adjust and release the game for Game Boy Advance. Finally, a reader asks for recommendations for Game Boy Advance software. Nintendo says Pokémon Ruby and Sapphire are highly recommended, having shipped 8.36 million copies worldwide, and mentions that they recommend Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, along with titles from other third-party companies. The page includes screenshots from the games Zero GC, Wario World GC, and Star Fox Adventures. It also makes a nod to the idea that Rare had sent out Christmas cards with Xbox and PlayStation 2. This page features a pickup section which recommends games for the Game Boy Advance, with a focus on titles with depth and engaging characters. The reviewer particularly highlights the Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney series, praising its witty dialogue. There's an Others section discussing how ideas and features from Game Boy Advance titles could be reflected in future games, with an example of using the camera in Cyberdrive Zoids, and also poses a question of why infrared functionality was not added to Game Boy Advance. The reply suggests cost reasons. The page includes a Ask Nintendo corner with user questions and answers, answering a question from a user of what kind of work they have done since joining Nintendo. It ends with a Nintendo fan art submission, along with a recruitment box for user submissions to the magazine. The next page showcases the Animal Forest Village Pride Festa Plus, highlighting player submissions and creativity within the game. The page features fan-made content for Animal Crossing, which they call Animal Forest in Japan, showcasing a handmade model of a villager's house, complete with details like a mailbox and snowman. It features a GameCube-themed bag, and also shows off custom in-game designs, including clothing and town flags. The town of Georgia Village is highlighted, featuring custom Ultraman-themed character clothing, promoting a Tanuki store, and is built to resemble a government building. The next page is filled with fan submissions for Animal Crossing. One section titled A Letter to Buketchan features a player from Osaka who writes about their village and how they're keeping Buketchan's flowers watered. Another section highlights a player's cube room, full of GameCube-themed decorations. There's a photo of an old Virtual Boy. A section called Good Friends showcases a drawing of a villager by a player from Yamagata. The last section talks about fall, with a picture of a pumpkin-headed character in the forest, encouraging players to decorate their rooms for Halloween. It then shows player villages and their characters, and shows two characters from two villages talking to each other. The page also has a section titled, "What is everyone's village like?" inviting players to submit videos and photos of their villages. It provides an address to send submissions to. Quote. Finally, there's a little blurb about fishing for Sowdry in the village. It also introduces some of the cat villagers in the game, like Rosie, Bob, Tangy, Tom, Kitty, Stinky, Mitzi, Monique, Pearl, Kabuki, Olivia, Kiki, Tabby, and Punchy. This page presents a special feature for Pokemon fans, brought to you by Transcell Tenetaichi. The release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire is getting closer, and events are planned all over Japan to commemorate the release. Don't miss the details and exciting Pokemon episodes. It highlights a Pocket Center Premium Countdown event starting November 21st to celebrate the release of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire and the start of the Advanced Generation anime. These events will be held at 16 locations across Japan. Attending the event in New York seems possible, with a new Pokemon illustration contest offering a trip to New York as a prize. There are two types of events available: paid and free. Paid events cost 1,000 yen to enter, and attendees will receive a special strap and a Moncol key holder of a new Pokemon as a present. Free events will feature the latest Pokemon Scoop information. The page has a schedule of paid and free events from November 16th to November 24th across different prefectures in Japan. A column features Pokemon Episode Gold/Silver Strategy Book Backstage Story. It recounts the tale of a Pokemon book's development running behind schedule due to the author's pregnancy. The author reminisces about working on Pokemon Gold/Silver strategy guides and how they barely managed to finish the book on time. Finally, the page highlights a Pokemon Gold/Silver scenario complete strategy guide and mentions that the release date was delayed. The next page features the Togepi's Great Adventure Pokemon minigame, offering tips for players. It advises players to stay calm and focused, carefully adjust movements on winding paths, and search for clear routes. The page also advertises Christmas Pokemon goods, including Pikachu snow-themed boots and tree sets, as well as a monthly Pikachu plushie in a Santa version for December. The page also features a Pokemon Ramen set with a Pikachu illustrated ceramic bowl. Also highlighted are 9 super rare Pokemon cards with crystal types from the Pokemon Card E-series. These cards features new neutral Pokemon like Nidoking, Lugia, Kingdra, Galonia, Kabutops, Hu, Lizardon, Crobat, and Celebi. This page promotes a competition where the editorial team challenges Sega's development teams to games. The team is battling it out in Super Monkey Ball 2 with a monkey dogfight mode, where players use lock-on missiles and to shoot down rivals in a shooting battle. 2 modes are available: a normal mode with point scoring under a time limit, and a survival mode where players fight to be the last one standing. Up to 4 players can play simultaneously. The current opponent is Sega's official online shopping site, D-Direct. The goal in the battle is to avoid lock-on missiles. Direct's team features store manager Kubo and Smile Kudo. The page notes that the editorial team was defeated, with Direct recording over 4,000 points. Finally, the page announces a Sega Soccer Slam tournament, with a chance to experience play and battle at Sega's headquarters on a large screen projector. Newcomers are welcome, and gorgeous prizes are up for grabs. This page is an interview with D-Direct, Sega's official online shopping site. The interview discusses their focus on providing pre-order bonuses and original goods. They believe their appeal lies in offering a 10% discount and points on top of pre-order bonuses. The store manager mentions that the Sega Gaga limited edition Sega notebook was a huge hit, featuring company mottos, the history of Segasoft, and more. They also mention the Space Channel 5 Part 2 merchandise, specifically the DC-shaped watch. When asked about the creation process for goods, the store manager explains that they start by brainstorming ideas for desirable items, then gather feedback from Sega-loving employees within the company. They highlight the Eternal Arcadia Legend pre-order bonus, the Sky Pirate keyholder, as an example of a unique item. Direct emphasizes their commitment to customer satisfaction and is always trying to improve their services. They see themselves as a specialized Sega product store. A large-scale renewal is also mentioned. The page also showcases popular Direct goods, including a limited edition Sega Gaga set with a t-shirt, Sega hardware logo pin set, and Sega notebook. Also featured is the Space Channel 5 Part 2 limited edition with special headphones and a Milky Way pouch, as well as Sega-related goods like a desk pad, strap, and Sega Saturn backpack. Finally, 3 lucky winners will receive a Sega towel set. The next page presents a showcase of Gathering Bug Academy, depicting it as a legendary martial art. It describes the rigorous training required, involving discarding all weapons and battling foes with only the body. The page also includes imagery of bullfighting and a scene with characters in what appear to be dire circumstances, with the question posed, will there be a tomorrow? The implication is that Gathering Bug Academy's training is difficult and potentially perilous. This page features a continuation of the Gathering Bug Academy martial arts theme. The first panel introduces the founder of the Gathering Bug School, Black Rappy. In the second panel, the text says, "Now, it is time to test the power of our Gathering Bug School." A character resembling Black Rappy stands before a gathering of students with a robotic-looking figure standing to the side. The third panel shows the group of students. The text reiterates the rules of the Gathering Bug School. No weapons allowed. However, beginners are permitted to use protective gear. The school emphasizes fighting with only one's physical abilities. This page continues the martial arts theme with more from the Gathering Bug School, starting with a dialogue from the robotic figure, limiting healing items to 10 per person, and banning resurrection items and techniques. The robotic figure says, "That's all." Then, the robot declares that they will head out to defeat a dragon as the culmination of their training. Black Rappy simply responds with, "Mm-mm." The robot requests some final words from the master. Black Rappy quotes, "Hearing is paradise, seeing is hell." The students then charge into battle with an all-out attack, with the text, "Surprise attack." There's an exclamation of, "Osu," which translates to, "push." The next page shows a dramatic scene with a giant dragon towering over a group of characters. One character is expressing shock and fear, wondering how they can possibly win against such a massive foe. Another character is shouting encouragement, urging them to fight with spirit. The action then moves to a scene of characters launching into battle. The text explains that one of the charms of this game is overcoming giant enemy bosses by working together and helping each other. It also mentions the unpredictability of teammates' actions, creating a thrilling experience. It notes that the game allows for players to help and be helped by their companions, offering a dramatic experience. The text expresses a preference for a happy ending, while acknowledging that a bad ending is also acceptable. The next page shows a comic strip. The first panel features a character with a determined expression yelling, "Say!" The next panel shows a character kicking with the caption, "Da!" This is followed by a panel of another character about to be hit, yelling, "Oria!" The next panel features the characters sent flying. The last two panels show various characters commenting, and what looks like a character vanishing in a flash of light, while a penguin looks on. The text is a description of how the online play works in a game. Players are transferred to a lobby, where people gather. From there, up to 4 players can travel to adventures in Pioneer 2, which acts as a base. If a player falls during an adventure, they are transported to Pioneer 2 instead of the lobby. This page features a comic strip, continuing the storyline. The first panel shows a group of characters preparing to go into action, with one declaring, "Second team, let's go!" The next panel shows a monster, with 3 figures running into its mouth. The subsequent panels depict action scenes, with one character punching an enemy and another being carried on a stretcher. The comic ends with a character in a helmeted suit looking surprised, and another with an afro making a comment about the master's replacement. The bottom text explains the importance of teamwork in adventures like this comic strip, emphasizing the need for rules and cooperation, especially when exchanging members via the lobby system. This page features another installment of the comic strip. The characters are encouraging each other, with lines like, "The only one left is you, rookie," and "Fight, oh!" One character remarks, "You're the last one." The next panel shows a close-up of a character with red hair preparing to strike, exclaiming, "A strike of crushing courage!" Following this, there's an image of a building and the sound effect, "Zuban!" A character looks surprised, questioning the Zuban sound. The final panel shows the face of a large, menacing creature. The bottom text notes that magic user characters, where magic is referred to as technique, face challenges due to their low health and defense, which puts them at a disadvantage. The next page continues the comic strip. The first panel shows a group of silhouetted figures in a lobby area. The next scene has a character exclaiming, "Ah, teacher!" with a small, dark antenna ED creature appearing in the speech bubble. Another panel shows a group of characters, and one asks, So, what about the dragon? The next set of panels depicts characters celebrating, saying, "We finally won!" and "We did it! Our efforts have finally." One character then asks, "By the way, what are the spoils of war?" After this, there is the character in text, Star Atomizer, followed by, "Ugh!" At the bottom right is an ad for Aiken Shi, Nindori Fist, now recruiting. The bottom text explains that the game often disappoints with the items that bosses drop. The Star Atomizer is described as a slightly more luxurious version of a recovery potion. However, it is available in stores, which makes it a disappointing item. The text concludes by saying that the chances of returning to Pioneer 2 are quite high. This page, titled Mario Support Squad, features fan art submissions. The editor acknowledges the recent takeover by Goschalker in the previous issue and announces the return of Lieutenant General Kainich. Also, the theme for Volume 80 has been changed to The Legend of Zelda. There are fan art pieces with comments. One piece is of Link, and the editor comments that the GC version makes him look cute. Another fan art piece shows Star Fox characters, with the comment that they already have high hopes for the next shooting game, Star Fox. There's also a Rockman Zero piece, with a comment about how fun the game is but difficult for older players. Other fan art features characters from Fire Emblems, The Binding Blade, and a Halloween-themed piece. Lastly, there's a comment on a submission for the game Ifeta. Artists featured are from Tokyo, Osaka, Kanagawa, Akita, Chiba. The Mario Cinetai page features fan art, including a Kirby calendar, FFTA artwork, stained glass art, possibly from Hokkaido, and Faye, the Binding Blade Cavalry. Cute Zelda/Pig art is highlighted, along with Star Fox fan art. General Selection showcases more diverse submissions from Capcom vs. SNK2, Tactics, Ogre, and Pipso, along with Spring Festival and Halloween-themed pieces. Art is praised for its various qualities, with the editor noting specific details and artist locations, Fukuoka, Tokyo, Shiga, etc. The next page is a Mario Cineatai segment featuring 4 Koma manga, 4-panel comics, contributed by readers. The first comic touches on the theme of perseverance and features a stamina shop where a customer buys stamina for 10 yen. Other comic shows a customer ordering roasted turtle from a restaurant featuring characters from Mario. A third comic features a comment on how the poster's drawings are too refreshing. The fourth comic shows Mario and other game characters in a tropical setting with some wordplay. Finally, there are fan art submissions including drawings of characters from the Animal Crossing franchise, a village themed like an island with a skull motif, and the artist's comment is about the difficulty of the project. There are also several Sonic the Hedgehog comics featuring characters such as Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles, and a comical take on the Fire Emblem, the Binding Blade characters. This page is titled Illustration High-Rise Apartment Building, featuring fan art submissions from readers. There's a diverse array of drawings, including fan art of Eleanor from Ogre Battlegaden, drawings inspired by Mega Man X and the Ganache design, a charming Earthbound piece, and even a Halloween-themed Kirby illustration. The artists hail from various prefectures. There is fan art of a lot of games with comments, including The Legend of Zelda, Star Fox, Fire Emblem, and Pocket Monsters. Many of the artists express their joy in drawing and sending their art. The next page is a showcase of fan art submissions centered around the theme of Biohazard, Resident Evil. Many images of the submissions include characters from the series like Jill Valentine, Claire Redfield, and Wesker, and even some of the enemies. One fan altered the image of Wario to a Biohazard theme. Another fan altered the image of Luigi into a Biohazard theme. Each piece is accompanied by a comment from the artist, expressing their love for the series. This page is a collection of fan art and comments. There's a section titled Illustrations of Children Under 10, featuring artwork of characters like Fox McCloud from Star Fox, Princess Peach, and others. There are also reader submissions in a section called Illustration Fan Letter, where fans express their love for different characters. Other drawings feature fan art and character drawings of Link, and other original designs. The page also includes information about illustration submissions for the magazine, like the size and format requirements. It mentions the deadline for submissions and the address where to send them, and a notice about how they reward rank promotions. The next page dives into the hidden features of wrestling games, specifically WrestleMania X8. It reveals the conditions for unlocking hidden wrestlers and arenas, mentioning games like SmackDown Classic, Royal Rumble 2001, and WrestleMania X7. To unlock the hidden wrestlers, you must win titles with the Heavyweight Belt, Intercontinental Belt, Hardcore Belt, European Belt, Light Heavyweight Belt, and Tag Team Belts. It also covers Street Fighter 03 Upper for the Game Boy Advance, detailing the conditions for unlocking hidden modes and characters. To unlock the Dramatic Battle mode, you have to clear the single-player mode with a difficulty of 2 stars or more. Same goes for Survival mode with the Dramatic Battle mode, and finally Boss mode in Survival mode to clear the Final Battle mode. Characters such as Evil Ryu and Guile can be unlocked by clearing single-player mode with a difficulty of 2 stars or higher, 3 to 5 characters respectively, and the rest of the characters, Maki, Yun, and Eagle, can be unlocked by clearing single-player mode with difficulty of 2 stars or higher, 7, 9, and 11 characters. This page features Dream Technique Hall, showcasing reader-submitted game secrets. Super Mario Advance 3's Thief minigame requires beating World 54 and specific button presses. Star Fox Adventure's Hidden Shop Path involves navigating through minigame rooms. UFC 2 Tape-Out unlocks hidden characters by earning gold belts in Legend mode. A contest is announced for readers to submit their own secrets, with prizes ranging from 1,000 to 10,000 yen. Instructions on submitting techniques are included, along with interim results from the Dream Play contest, highlighting contributors and specific tricks. The next page is an advertisement for Kuru Kuru Kururin Paradise for the Game Boy Advance. It highlights the new minigame additions to the title, which was released alongside the GBA. The game features 16 minigames and introduces magic as a new element, which can be used with the GBA to surprise friends. The game supports 14 players using a GBA link cable. Screenshots are shown of mini-games such as Super Jumper, Smash Force, and Twin Hopper, plus some adventure stages. The adventure mode has 34 stages, and the challenge mode has 30 stages. Overall, there are 64 stages and shorter courses. The text mentions that the stages have been made shorter and easier, with new gimmicks such as moving walls and ghosts. The next page features 2 Game Boy Advance titles, Marie, Ellie, and Anis's Atelier, Message from the Gentle Breeze, and Elemix. The Atelier game introduces a new character, Anis, a novice alchemist, joining Marie and Ellie in a series conclusion. Players will undertake requests and help them grow into renowned alchemists. The article highlights features like 2-character simultaneous progression, item synthesis, and book writing, which influences the ending. Elemix is an action-adventure game where magic governs the world. Players control large characters, engage in battles, and solve puzzles. The game allows players to transform into fire, ice, and earth elements, each with unique magical abilities, adding a tactical layer to the combat. The difficulty automatically adjusts, making it accessible for action game beginners. This page advertises 3 games. First up is Space Raiders, an action shooting game for the Nintendo GameCube, where players battle hordes of invaders after a giant mothership appears. Featuring the tagline, "Drawing the death throes of invaders," the game boasts simple yet exhilarating gameplay, high-score challenges, and a survival mode. The game features 3 main characters: Justin, seeking revenge for his murdered friends; Ashley, searching for her missing lover; and Naji, also seeking vengeance for a slain comrade. Next is Tomb Raider: Prophecy for the Game Boy Advance. This action-adventure game features a fixed camera perspective and allows players to control Lara Croft as she explores tombs and faces off against enemies. Finally, Higanbana: Red Spider Lily for the Game Boy Advance, a game drama based on the novel Otogiriso by Hideki Nagasaka. Set in Kyoto, the game unfolds a story filled with horror and mystery, centered around the Red Spider Lily. The GBA version includes an original scenario and a ghost shot system. The main character, Arisa, is guided by her deceased lover through Kyoto. The next page is an advertisement for 4 games on the Game Boy Advance. First is The King of Fighters, X2, Howling Blood, a fighting action game for 1 to 2 players. It features new characters on the main team and has modes such as Story Mode, Challenge Mode, and Practice Mode. Next is Samurai Deeper Kyo, an action game for 1 player based on the popular comic. Players can choose characters for each stage, altering the story, and use special moves. Then there's Alice in Wonderland, a map exploration board game for 1 to 4 players. Players explore a mysterious land and aim to be the first to reach the goal. The game features illustrations by John Tenniel. Finally, Inuko Club. Fukumaru's Great Adventure is an adventure game for 1 player. Players control a Shiba Inu named Fukumaru as he searches for his owner. The game includes mini-games and allows players to enjoy the cuteness of dogs. This page showcases 4 games for the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Color. First is Aozora and Friends, Dream Adventure, an action-adventure game where you play as Aozora, an elephant character, and must recover 7 stolen colors. Next is Manga Artist Debut Story, a simulation game where you guide an aspiring manga artist for 3 years, aiming for a professional debut. Then there's My Make Salon, a simulation game where you experience makeup application. Finally, Doraemon Quiz Boy 2 is a quiz game featuring over 5,000 questions and the familiar characters from the Doraemon series. The next page is an advertisement for the game Pool Edge on the Nintendo GameCube, scheduled for release on October 25th. It highlights the realistic graphics and gameplay, simulating all aspects of billiards. It features various game modes and an assist function for beginners. The next page features Best Play Pro Baseball on the Game Boy Advance, released October 25th. It touts the game's incredible freedom, allowing players to simulate their baseball fantasies with in-depth data and customization of players and teams. There are 3 game modes: Autoplay, Manager Mode, and Com Mode. It also highlights the ability to trade teams via GBA link cable. The page shows how to edit player data, uniforms, and team data with screenshots. It presents ways to enjoy the game, like predicting the Hanshin Tigers next season and recreating the 1959 Tenrin game between the Giants and the Tigers. Some players mentioned are Hideki Matsui, Murayama Minoru, Shigeo Nagashima. This page is an advertisement for Monster Rancher Advance 2 on the Game Boy Advance, scheduled for release on October 25th. The game revolves around raising monsters from words written on a mojibon, a word slate, and training them for battle. New to this version is an additional method of monster generation. There are over 500 monster types available. There's a feature to combine monsters in the laboratory, and it's possible to transfer data from the previous game. Once a monster is acquired, it can be restored from the encyclopedia. By completing the 512 monster types, it completes the encyclopedia. Some monsters cannot be generated from the Mojiban, and must be created using the combination feature. In training, monsters can be sent to drill exercises, enter tournaments, and rest. The monster can also be given items and treats. Also, random events like wild monster attacks or rival challenges can occur. There's a counter system to reverse attacks, and the friend system, where monsters come to your aid in battle. Exploring makes a return, and allows players to find rare items and information in each area. A new rule has been added to tournaments based on monster type. The next page covers Bomberman Jetters, Legendary Bomberman, on the Game Boy Advance, set to release on October 25th. The game follows Mighty, the legendary Bomberman, as he journeys through planets to chase after the Hidge Hidge gang, with up to 4 players supported via link cable. Players explore planets, defeat enemies for money and items, and tackle mini-games that hold keys to the story. Boss battles involve enemies like Drill Mognus, which attacks in multiple forms, and defeating bosses unlocks new planets. Players gather information in towns and purchase items, and dungeons on each planet are filled with formidable foes. The game also features companion characters known as Carabombs, with unique abilities to aid Mighty in combat, and new Carabombs can be obtained by collecting ESA, food, which strengthen and evolve them. Bomb no Moto and other synthesis items can be mixed at the synthesis shop in town to create 4 kinds of attribute bombs, each with different effects for use in exploration, with examples of ice bombs being used to freeze water. The game also includes a battle mode, where players can enjoy classic Bomberman battles with friends, complete with customizable rules, and the use of helper characters. Lastly, there is the Bomber Mansion, where players can test their skills by completing 5 floors. This page features 2 Game Boy Advance games. First is DGI Chariot Dejiko Communication, a simulation game by Broccoli, where you manage a gamer store with Dejiko and other familiar characters. The gameplay revolves around daily store operations, mini-games where you train the staff, and seasonal events that can be collected as images. Second is Silk and Cotton, an adventure RPG by Kiki, where the twin siblings Silk and Cotton are on a quest to regain their human forms after losing them in a mysterious forest. Gameplay involves exploring, battling creatures, collecting gemnos, which are equipable body parts that can change the character's stats and appearance, and influencing the story. The next page is all about strategy guides for various Nintendo games. The editorial team is working hard on a rush of strategy guides for the end of the year. They're looking at titles from Nintendo and creating guides for them. They've even added new staff to help produce 5 strategy guides in about 2 months. The guides will cover games such as Eternal Darkness, Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland, Mario Party 4, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. There's also a call for fan-made illustrations for the Kirby, Nightmare in Dreamland Strategy Guide, with a deadline of October 31st Street. A list of previously released strategy guides is also listed, including titles for the Nintendo GameCube, Nintendo 64, and Game Boy Advance. Game prices are also given. Successful applicants in September, from areas like Hokkaido, Miyagi Prefecture, Akita Prefecture, Yamagata Prefecture, Tochigi Prefecture, Gunma Prefecture, and Saitama Prefecture are named. Finally, the page advertises the Nintendo Dream Strategy Guides, with a chance to win a toy voucher by returning the enclosed questionnaire. This page is a Nintendo GameCube software catalog, highlighting upcoming titles. The page begins with a blurb on how, despite the catalog's contents remaining mostly the same from the previous edition, the game details within have shifted. Featured titles include from TV animation One Piece Treasure Battle, Super Monkey Ball 2, Kinnikuman 2, New Generation Superman vs. Legendary Superman, and Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. Also advertised are Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee, Sonic Mega Collection, Bakuten Shoot Beyblade 2002 Fierce Fight, Magnetag Battle, and Bomberman Jetters. The page includes small descriptions of each game, release dates, prices, and memory block requirements. Other games showcased are Soul Calibur 2, Spider-Man, Rollorama, and Wario World GC. The page also includes Rockman XE Transmission, Sonic Adventure 1, Virtua Fighter Quest, and The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker. Finally, the catalog includes Eternal Arcadia Legend, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, Rune 2, and Tales series. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. This page is a showcase of upcoming and released Nintendo GameCube titles. The top section features several upcoming games: Disney Sports, American Football where Mickey and friends play American football with magical items, Disney Sports, Basketball with 3-on-3 basketball, Evolution Snowboarding, 1080 Degrees GC, Mario Golf GC, and Mario Tennis GC. The middle section highlights released GameCube games, including ZooCube, a puzzle game where you rescue animals. Tetris World on the GameCube is also mentioned, stating that it has 6 modes and is a puzzle game. The bottom features Mr. Driller Drill Land, Mario Party 4, and Pool Edge. There is a comedic party title, Muscle Champion. The page also showcases Dokapon DX, and Momotaro Dentetsu 11 Black Bonbi is featured, with a black screen as a reference. A table lists previously released GameCube titles, with their release dates, prices, and required memory block space. The next page of Nintendo Dream Volume 78 features upcoming games and some editorial content. On the cover, there is a Kirby's Dream Land game poster, calling it a new idol on the Game Boy. The next menu section teases the content of Volume 79, with features on Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and Biohazard Zero, Resident Evil 0, as well as an interview with the producer and director of Gyakuten Seiban 2, Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney 2. The editor's voice section contains comments from the editorial staff. One editor reflects on the departure of someone named Chizuru Typhoon, while another expresses excitement for the upcoming year of the Hanshin Tigers baseball team. There are also comments on Kagba's Best Play Pro Baseball, the anime style of manga, Kimun Mokusei's season, the movie Full Metal Jacket, and a story about getting a platinum ticket, and other unlucky things. The page also provides contact information for the editorial department, including the address and email addresses for submitting content. This page is a double advert for Media Kite games on GameCube and Game Boy Advance. On GameCube there is Pool Edge, a realistic billiard game with an assist mode for beginners. And on Game Boy Advance there is Elevator Action Old and New, a spy action game. There is also a Card Party game, which is a collection of 12 types of card games. The next page is an advertisement for Tales of the World, Narrated Dungeon 2 on the Game Boy Advance, advertising a release date of October 25, 2002, for 4,800 yen. The text on the banner reads, "The number of costumes equals the number of adventures." The advertisement highlights the game's costume system, which changes abilities, and action-packed battle scenes. The advert also mentions a promotional campaign where 20 winners can win a GameCube, 100 can win an original Narrated Dungeon 2 Game Boy Advance case, and 10,000 can win a Narrated Dungeon 2 character handkerchief.